This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
Real Talkers, it's great to be back with you. It's great to be back alongside my partner in crime here, Jonathan Hicks. Is it Johnny? Is the given name, by the way, Jonathan? I don't know that we've ever actually discussed this.
You call me whatever you want, Daddy.
All right. Infamous. It's good to be back. We were, you and I, we've been collaborating.
The beautiful
Mercer Warehouse Studio.
which I missed it. I missed the smell. I missed the comparable messed up AC heating unit in here. I missed every little thing about this.
The beauty of a historic building.
1,000-year-old building.
Yeah. I had a Supriya Dwivedi in just a moment, by the way, in serious business to cover. I had a moment coming in here after a week away, not a week off. We had a lot going on. We'll recap the Real Talk Golf Classic, set a new fundraising record thanks to you beauties that showed up. Unbelievable stuff. Obviously, you were here yesterday as Rob Breckenridge took the reins.
Yeah, great show.
And we had a lot going on behind the scenes. We also have a big announcement to make during today's show. We've hinted at this announcement for weeks. We can now confirm as well. That's all coming up. But a lot going on. But nothing reiterated to me more how long it's felt. Just 1 week out of the chair, arriving back here at the historic Mercer Warehouse today and realizing that the security passcode, the locks have been changed by the landlord in a good way. Yeah. I think just too many people had the door code, and everyone was getting a little bit weirded out by it. But I had to check my email for the door. I'm like, how long have I been gone?
It's a reminder. Update your passwords. You got to stay secure in this day and age. But also, it's something you always say. The second we take a little time off, even in the summer, things just explode. And I'm not even talking about like NBA Finals finish. Stanley Cup was awarded. The White House lawn had a crazy
fist fight.
80th birthday extravaganza for
Brady
Donald
Tkachuk
Trump.
traded.
And then everything in Montreal, it just, Danny Bucks, everything. So we're back and we're ready to have, we're going to have a 5-hour show today.
A 5-hour show today, everybody. And the Danny Bucks, we got to get to that. There's Mayor Farkas and Calgary's City Council, which is not always the same thing, if you know what I mean, right? Like, Mayor Farkas does not always speak on behalf of all of Calgary's council, and Calgary's council doesn't always represent everything that Mayor Farkas believes. But here, for purposes of argument and cutting to the chase, Calgary's mayor and Calgary's council are in a spat. Kind of a weird, it's like it feels like a bit of a pissing contest. I'm not sure what's going on with the Alberta government. And keep in mind, everybody's kind of going, oh, yeah, Jeromy Farkas, when he's elected down in Calgary, this is good for Calgary, most people think, is he'll be able to – he was kind of like number 2 on the list of mayoral candidates, I think. Sonia Sharp may have been first, but number 2 on the rankings of who people sort of figured would best relate or best be able to deal with the province, with Danielle Smith's UCP government. Whereas here in Edmonton, kind of the thing was like, there's no Andrew Knack is going to be at odds, and Edmonton's lefty council at odds with the – it's kind of the right-leaning provincial government, this, that, and the other. Well, this is Mayor Farkas's first Calgary Stampede coming up as mayor.
Yeah.
And the province and the city are fighting over the hours of the Cowboy Beer Tent and the AGLC raising the minimum price of beers in Alberta. By the way, a move that was reversed by the UCP. And I promise we'll spend some time in the back nine of this episode to get into that spat. Farkas is using what's I think become one of his trademark phrases. I feel like he debuted it in this chair here in our studio, but he says, let's cut the bullshit, says the mayor.
Cut the BS.
He's going to start printing it on T-shirts and coffee mugs around what's going on with this noise. And we'll get into the story. Maybe we'll put it in front of Supriya. I don't know if she's going to be looking like, really? Is this what we're talking about today? But they're fighting and they're squabbling back and forth around who's trying to kill Stampede.
Yeah, and I never thought I'd see the day when Danielle Smith, our premier, would put out a post that aligned with the EDM and rave scene in Alberta. I was like, oh my, but it is true. I don't think there's a person out there that disagrees that this is going to hurt sales, businesses, the general vibe of the whole place. I mean, I get like noise, whatever, but this is a cultural Canadian, this is the event in Alberta.
Yeah.
And to shut down things at, what are they saying now, 11?
Yeah, basically the city of Calgary's position on this. You and I, you know what we do we do a good job of things. The one thing we do a really bad job of is waiting till later in the show to talk because we're so excited and we haven't been able to hang out and talk about this. Basically, the city of Calgary's position is that this Cowboys tent, the iconic Cowboys tent, depending on who you ask, but for the most part iconic. They want to party until all hours of the night, and it's been a real pain in the ass for the people that live nearby that aren't partying. And then the city's position is like, basically we have the same noise rules as Coachella and Lollapalooza and all these other big festivals. Lollapalooza is still a thing, right? Isn't it?
Lollapalooza is one of the largest.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's still a thing.
Yeah,
and they're going, we have the same rules as them, and it's not on the Stampede grounds. And what are you guys even talking about? And Danielle Smith's kind of going to the wall, basically, I guess.
She was right
you
in
should
there.
be able to like make as much noise as you want till 3 a.m, which part of me loves it.
I want to do an AI image of her with glow sticks but like, just for me, I feel like I do also agree that it's a safety issue. It's like, I play a lot of big events, a lot of weddings, events, especially in the summer. And every time they shut things down, they still let music go at halls, at event spaces, at hotels for an extra hour to an hour and a half. It's called consumption time. And it's basically to let people wind down. You close the bars, you let everybody get all that sweat and steam off of them, and then you send them home. To shut everything down before midnight at Stampede and let all those, let's just be honest, everyone's going to be having a good time. They're going to be intoxicated out into the streets to just wander and find another party is far, far more dangerous than keeping them all inside a tent. That's just how I feel.
And so on a parallel story, so Danielle Smith on her Instagram looks like the fun police are cracking down in Calgary, which also I love. And obviously uses the message she does, and we'll take more time later to get into it because I got to see how real talkers feel about this. And Supriya's hanging tight in our virtual green room. But Danielle Smith basically says the fun police have struck down in Calgary, and city council should basically wake up. I'm paraphrasing and sort of reverse this new noise bylaw that's going to kill the Stampede. And then the AGLC, Alberta's Gaming Liquor Cannabis Commission, they raised the minimum price of pints in Alberta from $3.20, I think it was. Let me check my reporting here with the Calgary Herald. I believe it was $3.20. By the way, where's the last time you got a pint for $3.20? But they've raised it to $5 a pint. You remember back in the day? I mean, my Alberta was pouring 25-cent draft. In my Alberta, when I'm premier, draft will be 25 cents. So they raised it to $5, and then Farkas claps back with looks like the fun police have struck again in Alberta, and starts talking about how raising the prices are going to harm partiers and hurt bars, and then the Alberta government, led by Minister Dale Nally, who you'll remember, the Minister of Service Alberta, who sat here in our studio talking, remember our whiskey special when they introduced the Alberta Whiskey Act, which I totally love. I thought it was a great initiative. I think it is a great initiative. You got Alberta beef, you got Alberta whiskey.
Sure.
Well, Nally swoops in and says, we have instructed the AGLC to reverse the price increase, which is great news for those of you that'll be seeking the $3.20 pint wherever you can find it. But they're fighting back and forth now on who's the bigger fun police force.
It's wild. But yeah, even some people commenting already saying, like Cowboys and all these other events that are outside of the Stampede's grounds, they aren't part of Stampede. And that's not true. Like everything around the entire city on that week is part of Stampede. And you may not agree with the stuff like Badlands, Chasing Summer, Cowboys, whatever it is, but all of that is extra income. All of that is more people coming down who may not be into country music, who may not be into rodeo, but they still come down because maybe some of their friends are, and because this is the place to be.
Yeah.
And for those events to be shut down early, I just see it backfiring. I see these people going out and finding parties somewhere else. I see them drinking on the streets. I see them wandering around looking for rides when they could be in a safe area with security, with police around, things like that. And all of that income, whether you like it or not, whether it's on the Stampede grounds or not, whether it's a gosh darn Don't Air place downtown, They're all relying on that money. Every year they wait for this week. And for me, I mean, those big nights we're really talking about are the Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the end of that first week, right? These are the times when it's really loud and people go late. And I get that. It's one long weekend of summer that Calgary just shows what it's all about.
Well, the Stampede's more like 2 full weeks.
I know it is. But those 3 nights in general, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, are just bangers, right? And I get that. It's closer to a residential area. People want to sleep. But I mean, take a weekend off. If you're not going to be part of Stampede, it's one weekend of summer when Calgary gets to show all it's about.
Yeah. So the city's like, they've reduced permittable sound levels by decibels, by 5 decibels. So now you
This is another
kind
thing.
of go 80 decibels.
Everywhere in
which
Alberta.
is pretty loud, by the way.
I'm doing events now, and there's decibel readers at every hall,
Are you serious?
every wedding I do, and they're like below. So a club level, I'll just give you, it's hard to read decibels, right? If you could be in the middle of a club and there's 10 people and then you put 100 around them, that affects the decibel level. You put 1,000, that affects it too. But like basically the readings people are giving me are 90 or under. But just for like reference, like if you're in a club, it's close to 100, right? And I know people say, well, that's deafening, that's too loud, whatever. But it all depends on how many people are there. But like I've seen some places, the last place I played, I'm not going to say it, because A, I went over the limit because it was ridiculous, and B, like, I respect these event places, but they said 80 decibels. 80 decibels is like you're having cocktails at the start of an event and able to have a conversation.
They say you got to speak loudly at 80 decibels.
Yeah, just a little, but not like that is not party time. That is not concert. That is not, event level decibels.
So the new rules, or according to this memo from the city of Calgary, as we should phrase it, weeknight concerts, let me say the earlier one first, have to end at midnight, and they can have what they're calling cool down music. That's kind of like the closing time, right? So you can play that till about 12:30. Weekends, the music's got to end at least at cranked volume at 1 a.m. with cool down till 1:30. I don't know. The city says that it received almost 225 complaints after the 2025 Stampede. Residents nearby said their windows were vibrating, objects were falling off shelves in their residences. There were late night disturbances and disorder, which basically means that people were pissing on their cars and their dumpsters outside their apartment buildings and things like that. There's a real lack of sympathy around people complaining as well.
Yeah.
I've noticed anecdotally, folks will say
threesomes in alleys.
Right. I mean, the things that have made the Stampede known around the world.
Infamous.
Respectfully. People will say, well, if you choose to live down there, if you choose to live right by the Stampede grounds or in the downtown core of a city of, 1+ million people, then what do you expect? But tell that to the person that, it's got to work 5 a.m.
I get that. And I understand that. But it's like we just had FIFA there in Toronto and Quebec. Like, did you see the people on the streets? Did you see the parties happening? But you think, oh my gosh, because you have videos of people from their apartments, from their condos, from their high rises, showing these mobs of people walking around screaming, blowing whistles, intoxicated. But I just see it as money. And somebody just said in the chat, like, I never thought Johnny would take the position of fuck you, let's make money. So pardon my language.
You're Alberta's most infamous club DJ.
But like this, I'm not saying do it every weekend year round, but this is a specific once a year cultural Alberta specific event where why can't we loosen the leash a little? I'm not saying go till 8 a.m. I'm saying let's make it like a bar. 2 a.m., cops come out and say mosey on home, and that's how it is.
Yeah.
For me, before midnight, it's just like, come on, this is Stampede.
Well, nothing before midnight, but you're right. 1 a.m. on the weekends. We'll put this to we'll get back into the live chat and see where people land on this. I'd be curious to see. I bet this audience is a 50-50 split on this. I have mixed feelings about it. I would say that you're never allowed to propose a solution on anything, anywhere, by suggesting that the people don't like it, just leave. But I would also say we have a pitch currently in our inbox, talk@ryanjesperson.com, media@ryanjesperson.com. If you got a story idea for us, that'll go to the appropriate inboxes. The PR firm handling Airbnb's account, probably making a pretty penny on that, is wanting us to bring a rep from Airbnb on the show. We're not going to do it. It's like the worst possible content.
Yeah.
But they're like, there's like a 40 to 60% surge in Airbnb pricing in Calgary right now.
It's crazy.
It's guaranteed way higher than 60%, by the
Yeah.
way. But I would say this.
We know.
If you're one of those folks, more on that in a bit. If you're one of those folks that lives nearby and hates it, if your condo's in decent shape, like people are pulling 5, 6, 7, 10 grand
That's what I'm saying.
week.
Get out of
during
that
Stampede.
Get out of the city for a weekend.
Go stay at the Jasper Park Lodge.
Make 10 grand. Go. You know what I mean? Like, go to Edmonton, see your folks. Go to Gasoline Alley, stay in a motel. I'm not saying, and again, it sounds like I'm saying get the hell out of your city. But just, I think everyone, when we have events like this, You should be proud of your city, and you should just look out there and be like, everyone's getting a paycheck. Every single business, no matter who they are, new customers who've never been to whatever, the 7-Eleven, the Donair shop, all those local businesses. I wish I could name a bunch, but you don't sponsor us in Calgary
yet.
But you know what I mean? This is a paycheck for everyone. I know I'm saying 1 week, and I do realize it's like 2 weeks or whatever, but we're really talking about that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And just I just feel like this is fun police, right? I agree with our premier and Farkas.
We got to bring, I love how you're agreeing with both of them. Classic.
Right down the middle.
We got to bring Supriya in on this, and we will in just a second. Nick D in our live chat, powered by Park Power, says, I know Jespo likes to joke that stuff always happens when he's away. After last week, says, I'm feeling that it's intentional. Nick, I'm feeling the exact same thing. A lot of ground to cover with Supriya. The good news is you're getting her twice this week. More on that in just a second. Before we go any further, speaking of Alberta, speaking of parties, speaking of celebrating, we're celebrating along with our friends at Hanson Distillery. They're presenting this episode, and congratulations to them on this brand new release, a limited release. Only 300 bottles exist of this cask strength whiskey aged in sherry barrels. I love this. Hitting with dark fruit, warm vanilla, and a cracked pepper finish. No water added, right? This is cask strength, no shortcuts taken. This is 7 years of patience, now on sale. Every time Hanson drops a limited release, in particular their whiskeys, they go quick, and this one will as well. So whether or not you picked up a bottle for Father's Day, shout out to all the dads, I'm telling you, this is a gift. You either add to your collection and keep it, or you gift it, or maybe you buy a case. Whatever you do, you can find it at the Hanson Distillery, 174th Street, 111th Avenue in the capital city here in Alberta. Liquor stores across the province, and always at hansondistillery.com. They'll ship across the country. Hanson is proudly local, always original, made right here.
People are mad in the chat. I said 7-Eleven. I said it because I don't want to say actual.
What are people mad about 7-Eleven?
Well, just because it's not a local business. But what I meant was I don't want to single out any local businesses. I'm talking about all of them.
You don't have to apologize.
They're all making a chunk of change.
Everybody knows what you're talking about. Ambustion, thanks in our super chat for buying a beer for, we'll say for Supriya, a cold one for the next time she's in town. Says, guys, it's not just at the Stampede ground. They paved a cool skate park and subjected our neighborhood to Cowboys' new open-air club.
Love it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the skate park thing, Millennium Skate Park, that was a big deal, right?
Amazing.
It was very cool stuff, and I know some people, it's really rubbing them the wrong way. Also, Cowboys is as much of a Calgary I mean, put it this way.
Yeah.
I have personal memories of being upstairs at Cowboys when my buddy Nagel used to be the head bartender there. This is years ago, and just looking over and saying, is that Mika Kiprasov and Dion Phaneuf crushing darts with bottle service? And yes, it was. I will never forget it. As Supriya joins us in our feature interview presented by our friends at Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. I think this is the first time we have left you sitting there for 18 fucking minutes.
Get out of here.
You literally,
it's fine.
You could have made a latte. You could have walked your dog, come back. I'm sorry. We didn't mean to do it. We meant to save it for later. People are all fired up heading into Calgary Stampede. Calgary's mayor, Alberta's premier, fighting over who's the bigger fun police.
I mean, what I love about this is just, in the initial, 45 seconds, couple of minutes that you and Johnny were going at it, I was like, wait, Danielle Smith is pro-rave? Like, what's happening? What did I miss? I feel like I missed a whole fuck of a lot.
She's DJing
but thanks for
now.
catching me up.
Yeah, she's DJing
Yeah,
now.
DJ Danny D.
Yeah, it's amazing. Mixing a little bit of this, mixing a little bit of that. She's got mashups going on. I mean,
Country mashups.
My favorite mashup of Danielle Smith's was the MOU Alberta separation mashup. Nobody thought it could be done.
Danny Bucks.
You've lived in Montreal. You've lived in Toronto. What's your thought on like 1 a.m. is a reasonable time to drop it down to 80 decibels? 1:30 is a time to wind it up. I mean, Montreal is a world-class party city. I'd loop Calgary Stampede in there too, but Montreal, it's like, 365.
Yeah, look, I would say coming from Toronto is like very much a Puritan city. I would say having spent a lot of time in Ottawa, it's even worse. Like things shut down at like 10 p.m., 10:30. Like I've been at bars in Ottawa where like last call is legit at 10:15 p.m. and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Especially because it's all government workers. They don't have to show up till noon the next day.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah. In Montreal, last call is generally around 3 a.m. So like, I don't know. That to me is a more reasonable kind of time. I can certainly understand if you're living in a residential area and you're not used to the noise. This area did not exist prior to you moving there. You didn't know it was going to be this, loud and bumping spot, that you're a little bit annoyed. But I think to Johnny's point, it's for a short period of time. So I don't know, I would get out of Dodge, or I would, just leave my place. And I understand everything you were saying about you don't want the argument to be, well, if you don't like it, then just leave.
Yeah.
But 80 decibels really isn't that loud. And I mean, my watch, my Apple Watch goes off whenever it's around 90 decibels.
Oh, yeah?
To warn you that it's perhaps getting loud. That's like me blow drying my hair or like in a busy restaurant. So
it's a busy city street. It's a really loud downtown street where you gotta yell at someone across.
They say 80 dB, and this is like what's this source? It's like Human Protection. So this is like some sort of health, some sort of health website. Supriya, I'm not very familiar with them. I don't know. They say it's like heavy city traffic, Johnny. If you're standing roadside, a busy sports bar during a big game, like you said, Supriya, like a blender running, a loud vacuum cleaner, or a packed restaurant. And then they say, but here's the deal: is like when you go from 80 to 90 dB. By the way, this is such like a Poindexter way to approach it. Like
because it's a logarithmic scale. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
It's
so
not,
it's like
weird.
So 90 dB is actually twice as loud to your ears as 80 dB.
Sure.
So it is big jumps.
Like 80 dB
Anyway,
would
that's
be
not the point, is it?
80 dB is like a really loud bus zooming by you on a city street. But so like Supriya said, like a hairdryer in your ear. But even 90 dB, like. Man, I've DJed for years. My hearing is still great. You can listen to 90 dB. You can listen to 100 dB you can listen to 100 dB for 2 hours straight at that level. You could listen to 90 for 4 hours. 80 you could listen to all night, and there's none. I think over 85 is when it starts to cause hearing damage in some people. But
just so we don't get sued, I will say.
Also, people absorb sound. So when you're at big, huge events.
That's true.
And thousands of people, it's so hard to calculate dB. Like you hold your watch up in the air, but when you're down in the crowd, you've
that's
got
an
people
interesting
around
point.
you, right?
Health Canada says that 85 dB prolonged daily exposure may begin to damage hearing. 100 dB heavy damage can occur after 15 minutes, and at 110 dB damage can occur in under 2 minutes. But when you're talking 110, you're talking like basically extremely loud rock concerts and jets taking off.
Yeah,
so.
I have a friend, I won't mention his name because I don't know if I'll end his career, but he's got about 40% hearing left. He's been DJing 25 years.
Let's end someone's career
and
today.
It's because he has his booth monitor next to him cranked, and he finally got an Apple Watch. He's like, I had no idea, but I've been running this thing at like 98, 110 right next to my ear for 20 years. And I went to the doctor, and I have 40% hearing left. So
wow,
he's only got a few years left
is
before
is he adjusting course?
He can't DJ anymore. Really, I mean, you can't with that amount of hearing.
Okay.
But Jespo, you must remember like really old timey radio guys who would come into the studio or like after they leave their shift would complain about their hearing, and then you put on their headphones and you're just like, oh God, this is so loud.
Yeah.
So,
although I think that I am one of those people because you've been in here and we have guests that come in studio, put on the headphones, and they're like, it just knocks their socks off. We got to turn it away. I think I'm actually one of the. At what point in my life do I acknowledge that I am one of the old people? I think it might be. I think it might be right now. Actually, it might be right now.
Yeah.
Are you the fun police?
I'm definitely not the fun police. I can tell you that much. I mean, although I think fun police can also be interpreted in different ways, right? Like I will be like I will be
good. What do you mean? Are you trying to spin for the fun police right now?
I'm going to take it back, and I'm just going to say I am the officer showing up to inspect and ensure that everybody is having fun.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You may want to call me the fun commissioner. Maybe I operate at arm's length from the fun police and make sure that everything's happening. Do you want to discuss something in front of the whole audience that we haven't even talked about yet, Johnny? We'll forget about the plan for the later announcement. I'm not good at saving things for later. You know that.
We should end this
this and tie it up with a bow by letting everybody know Supriya just over the weekend. Well, on Friday, as a matter of fact, of last week, Real Talk is thrilled to confirm that in partnership with Studio Bell at the National Music Center, Real Talk will be streaming from my hometown of Calgary. Real Talk Road Trip will target the Calgary Stampede July 6th to 10th. We're going to be down in Calgary in the heart of the action. And Supriya, here's the rub. You may be sitting here going, well, July 6th is a Monday, and what does that mean for our regularly scheduled segment? And are you flying me out to Calgary? I probably shouldn't offer that up because we did just look at Airbnb, and we would never recover financially if you were to come out here. But we're going to keep you on the July 6th show, and we're just going to be live from the National Music Center. It is a phenomenal facility. It is like an unbelievable crown jewel in Canada's arts community, Canadian Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and so many other cool things. Real Talkers will learn all about it in the week that we're down there. But we want you in true Stampede Parade fashion. You can be our Real Talk Parade Marshal and take us into our week of coverage on Monday, July 6th.
Can't wait.
It's going to be so good.
I am so excited, and this had nothing to do with my opinion on the party going till 2 a.m.
You see what's happening right now is Johnny's just campaigning for late night DJ gigs down in Calgary.
I like it.
I think we should play till 3:30. That's what I think. Hey, one of the I would just say you and I haven't had a chance to chat for a while, and now of course we get up to speed on the news and everything that's happening, and obviously a horrific situation, Supriya, in your hometown of Montreal after a deadly shooting that left 3 people dead, including a 34-year-old constable, another officer currently hospitalized in stable condition. A civilian was killed here. Police say the suspect killed during an exchange of gunfire as investigators are piecing together exactly what happened and why. There's a lot of rumors, and we'll touch on what we know today as we chat here. But reports from CBC, the Montreal Gazette, and other outlets indicate that authorities are looking at a lengthy manifesto linked to the gunman, apparent ties to that sort of incel ideology, this misogynistic ideology, though officials have reminded the public that many details remain under investigation. This attack is one of several involving police, several shootings involving police as well this week or over the past couple of weeks here in Canada. It's triggered emergency alerts, lockdowns, and renewed questions about online radicalization, extremism, violence against women, and the challenges that police and communities are facing in trying to recognize warning signs before tragedy strikes. Before we get into the details, which are minimal at this point, just, it's the city where you grew up. Where's your head at right now?
I mean, my heart's with the city. To your point, there's currently like a ton we don't know. Yeah. We know that the mayor of Montreal, Soraya Martinez-Ferrada, is expected to hold a press conference in about 35-ish minutes to presumably shed more light on what happened. To your point, there was a police officer and a civilian that were killed, as well as the shooter. The police officer was 34 years old. The civilian's name was Michael Mizrahi. We do know that, a member of the Jewish community. The police officer's name was Mohammed Ben Rodan. He was only 34 years old, been a member of the force since 2021. It's just horrific. You were talking about the manifesto, and I do want to point out that, what has been circulated online does seem to be about 104 pages of just an absolutely rambling, kind of disjointed manifesto. You'll see quite a bit of, anti-government extremism peppered throughout the document. And we know that when, folks have a very, high degree of anti-government sort of sentiment, they do tend to target police. But again, we still don't really know. But just going back to that manifesto, the one common thread amidst all of the rambling, he rails against capitalism, he rails against the legal system at one point, plastic surgery, the constant sort of throughout is that, misogynistic, incel-like overtones. And I think at this point, when we're talking about the police investigation that's certainly underway, You said this right off the jump, but like, how did he get radicalized? Why did he choose Montreal as a location? Since what's been initially reported, and again, not fully confirmed, is that he perhaps drove down from Alberta. So like, was Montreal chosen as a specific sort of location? Is he part of some sort of larger network, or was this a lone wolf sort of thing? Some French language Montreal police are now reporting that the police are investigating that whether or not the headquarters of Pornhub could have been a possible target, because there were bullets that hit the building. But again, unclear, and we'll get more information as this goes on.
Yeah, you you touch on something around I think I'm trying to think of the right word. Maybe it's persistence, or I don't know, prevalence, but the persistence of that kind of incel ideology, and like you said, the roots of that extremism or that radicalization. And I guess we can approach this from a number of different angles, recognizing as well that you have expertise, and much of your professional career has focused on things around online harms and threats of violence, and you've obviously talked about it a lot. In a situation like this, you question whether society as a whole and law enforcement is doing enough or is well equipped enough to address this issue. There's questions around how to address this issue, how to spot it, how to recognize when someone's frustration around maybe unhealthy relationships or whatever it is that, perhaps everyone, or perhaps, many people know of someone in their life that may not be radicalized per se, but they've got really strong feelings about like women or relationships or whatever it is. It could be women in their lives. It could be bigger picture. And when that becomes a real problem, when the red flags wave, and then there's the whole question around how media should cover this and whether or not the details. And of course, the public is curious. I think back to when you and I'm not comparing the situations, but another tragedy, when you and I spoke after the Tumbler Ridge shooting, people immediately and understandably want to know what triggered the shooter, what prompted what motivated the shooter. How did we get to this point? And I think it's very important for us to talk about misogyny and that incel ideology and what drives it and what fuels it and what pushes it to the point of combustion, like what happened in Montreal. And then part of you kind of goes, well, man, are we amplifying the whole thing? You know what I mean? I mean, my brain's in about 10 different places on this one.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, look, I'm not up to full speed in terms of what the expert recommendation is of, fully publishing a manifesto like this. It's 104 pages. Like I said, it is kind of rambly. I could certainly appreciate arguments both for and against. My own kind of resting place on this kind of tends to edge slightly towards, reputable outlets publishing the bulk, if not all of it, only because I do think sunlight is the best disinfectant. But as I'm saying that, I would certainly heed the advice of somebody who has, a ton of experience in reporting on radicalization or extremism to avoid what you suggested is like, you don't want to amplify it. You don't want to put a manifesto in front of somebody who is possibly on like the precipice or on that tipping point, and then all of a sudden they read this and it like inspires them to do so. So it is this really delicate balance, I think. But in an era of rampant misinformation and high degrees or higher degrees or increasing degrees of mistrust when it comes to our democratic institutions or our police, I think you need to err on the side of being as transparent as possible without compromising an investigation or amplifying a dangerous message.
This when you hear shooting and you think of Montreal, of course you think of the Polytechnique, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just, do you think that there are, I mean, if you look at the shooter's motivation and what we understand about that horrific tragedy, and then you look at what we know at this point, and again, I'm being careful, and even the questions I'm asking you, because we have to be reasonable and fair and responsible in how we talk about this, but like, do you see parallels there that we can't ignore?
So I think the underlying sort of cause of the misogyny, sure, there's a parallel, but I would just say, Polytechnique, I was a kid when it happened. It was 1989, very long time ago. The information ecosystem obviously drastically different than it is now, right? I would say that it's exponentially easier to fall into a misogynistic incel-like rabbit hole today than it would have been, back in the mid to late 80s. And I think that's what we really have to sort of wrap our heads around, not just as, regular everyday Canadians that want to prevent something like this from happening. But you and I have talked about this quite a bit from like an online harm sort of perspective, is like, what are these platforms? What are these algorithms pushing young men towards on this? Like, there's a stat out there. It's an Australian stat, so it may not apply directly to Canada, but it takes about 23 minutes for a young teenage boy to be showed pretty drastic misogynistic content online as he's just scrolling through Reels or TikTok or whatever the case may be. So you'd have to imagine those numbers are at least somewhat similar here in Canada. And that's an absolutely terrifying stat, that a regular, everyday, teen boy can be pummeled with this sort of thing. And, the more you engage with the content, the more you're shown it. And then it just kind of is this positive feedback loop. And a lot of the time, some of the content initially starts off as rather innocuous, like, take control of your life, like hustle and grind culture, right? Like work hard, make your bed in the morning, respect yourself. And then slowly yet surely it kind of morphs into some of the more harmful, rhetoric that we see online from misogynistic influencers like an Andrew Tate type figure. And, it's very hard for parents to keep up with that, just because, not for lack of trying or for lack of, good parenting, but the fact that these platforms are the ones that are designing their systems in a way so that people do get increasingly radical content in their feeds. And that's a huge problem.
Johnny, we've talked about this, about the algorithm and just where people are directed. And Supriya makes such an important point on the difference in tech and online influence. And it is a thing. Like, it is a thing. And I know that there's some people that may feel like, I've raised my kids right, or my son's reasonable. And like, to a certain degree, a lot of people will be protected by strong family units, positive, healthy relationships, a healthy relationship with technology and awareness of how algorithms work, red flags that are inherent in their brains, that when they see attitudes that don't align in language around women or whatever the case may be, if that was indeed the shooter's driving force. But, we also, I think, I have talked a lot about this epidemic of loneliness and alienation, and
and that's
it's a real thing impacting young men in particular.
I know, and it's men's mental health, and I get that, but when the I don't want to say incel because we don't know too much, but that's what this kind of reading it this morning, it kind of sounds like. But it just strikes me as strange that the same men who are on podcasts and delivering this content that Supriya was just talking about, that is poisoning young men's minds, telling them they hate women and that women hate them and they're never going to be good enough. They're never going to make money enough. They're never going to do all these things. And it's not to like quote the Barbie movie, but it's actually like the patriarchy. It's the system we've set up that is failing women, that is also failing men, because it's telling them, don't talk about your feelings. Shut the fuck up. Go to work. Push it down. Don't talk to anyone about it. And then it boils over and stuff like this happens, right?
In our live chat here, Erica's watching us, our live stream presented by California Closets. By the way, book a free consultation today at californiaclosets.ca. Erica says 104-page rambling manifesto complaining about everything from porn to women to capitalism. Erica's responding, I think, to comments in our chat, says it doesn't sound like a left versus right issue at all to me. She says, but a lot of people will make it one anyway, and that's pretty pathetic. How about this one from Scarlett, who says that she watched the Theo Von Joe Rogan interview a while back. Scarlett says, my algorithm shifted dramatically. Said it took a while to shift it back. Scarlett says, I think the algorithm should be illegal. Super Chat Ken says social media is built on a foundation of validation and endorphin addiction. It amplifies the feeling of belonging, bullying, distancing, and isolation, all at the same time. From Super Chat Ken. That's a big comment, and I'm inclined to agree with him. Yeah. I know there's not a ton we can say about it at this point, except for it's a horrific tragedy. It's obviously awful. Let me ask you this, though, before we move on. Police are saying in Montreal that this is not being treated as terrorism. Do you think that Canadians should maybe reconsider or even redefine terrorism when we're talking about ideology translating into or turning into violence?
Yeah, so I think so. And I mean, incel ideology can, in fact, be a terrorist kind of motive. We have recognized that in the past. I think what the comment made by Ian Lafrenière, he's the Quebec's domestic security minister, was that it's a domestic case, so it's not linked to any international political terrorism, because the initial sort of worry, as reports were coming out and it was discovered that Michael Mizrahi, who's a 68-year-old civilian member of the local Jewish community, and there's a pocket of that neighborhood of Côte-des-Neiges that does have a large, vibrant Jewish population, was that this was perhaps connected to some sort of international anti-Semitic kind of terror motive. Zionism is mentioned in that 104-page manifesto, like I said, as is the word Jewish does appear. But as far as we know from police, it's doesn't seem to be the main motivation. But again, like, want to be careful. We'll know more. But I think it was Erica that you said mentioned this in the super chat. This definitely isn't a right or left issue. I think it's a radicalized by the internet kind of issue, and it can happen to anyone, really. And I think the focus, the reason why there's so much focus being put on the misogynistic part of this, or the incel part of this, is that it really is the only common thread. Like, everything else kind of seems to be somewhat rambly, and everything else kind of seems to be disparate or somewhat disconnected. But that common thread of like the anti-woman hatred seems to be coming throughout.
And I mentioned this in my introductory remarks as well, but we should note that a few provinces west, RCMP have now charged a man with attempted murder after 2 RCMP officers were shot in Melville, Saskatchewan. Multiple officer-involved shootings here. Let me just say, though, like, multiple scenarios where officers have been shot at and have been shot in Canada as well. It's one of these things where I don't need to drag the United States into everything, but I would say that it feels sort of far more normal, so to speak, if you'll permit me to use the word, to hear of these types of situations in the United States. But in Canada, it's not typically something we're used to. Like, when a police officer, right? Like, it demands and deserves a conversation as well. And there's a number of angles there, including the safety of the men and women who serve on the front lines. And I think in particular, you look at this, it's like Melville, Saskatchewan, Montreal, Quebec. You probably couldn't find 2 more different municipalities or 2 more different communities if you tried. And yet a common thread here through the week. I don't have anything profound to offer there, except to say that it is a remarkable week on that front. And you got to wonder where law enforcement's at. I think like the husbands and the wives and the kids, the parents of police officers this week as well, for whom you see what happens every time there's an officer funeral. We've had several in the city of Edmonton over the past 15 years or so. A couple officers shot in an apartment building. A couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, Supriya, an officer, Danielle Woodall, I think of him going to execute a search warrant, shot through the door with a shotgun, killed a father. These situations, and I don't know. I mean, obviously the memory of Mayerthorpe is there. You've got the situations in Nova Scotia. I mean, off the top of my head, but just it gives you pause to think.
Yeah, and I think in all of this, people want immediate answers, and it's difficult to come up with immediate answers. So I can certainly appreciate the impatience here, but unfortunately, I think we just have to let the investigators kind of do their work and figure out what what went down here. Because the other thing that people have noted was that the gunman in Montreal was dressed in like rather tactical style clothing, like military style clothing, right? And so it's like, well, did he have a military background? Was there any background in this that he would have had? You know what I mean? So it's like there's still a lot that we don't know.
And let's also acknowledge that in a lot of these circumstances, like what are we trying to figure out here? I understand that families want and deserve answers and everything, but it's not, there's not going to be any situation where you go, oh, that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, that motivation was like, you know what I mean? And especially when the shooter is deceased, the suspect we say, but the shooter is deceased. It's a situation that just obviously makes zero sense and ends in tragedy. We'll leave our inbox. Of course, it's always wide open to talk at RyanJesperson.com. I know that there are police officers, there's members of law enforcement that listen to the show. I know that there's audience members in Quebec. More of you, by the way, in Quebec in recent months, and I'm pretty sure we know exactly why. Welcome to the Real Talk family. You can send us a note anytime with your thoughts on what's going on here to talk at RyanJesperson.com. Supriya Dwivedi joining us in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. Want to talk about Keir Starmer's resignation in just a moment. Will be stepping down as Prime Minister. They're going to have a new Labour leader in Britain. What's at stake? Where did Starmer stumble? What will his legacy be? More with Supriya in just a second. Before we go there, want to give a big shout out to our friends at Friesen Brothers. They had their Mother Dough Bread Co. representing at the Real Talk Golf Classic just this past week out at the ranch, serving up sandwiches on sourdough for all of our golfers. Absolutely fantastic stuff. You can find Mother Dough Bread Co., their inaugural location out in West Edmonton. Learn more online. Just search for Mother Dough Bread Co. Our friends at Friesen Brothers letting you know they now have BC cherries in stock. This is a limited time offer because when you see cherries at Friesen Brothers, you know they are BC cherries, and you can't get those year round. We got a note from our buddy Noob, by the way, Johnny, who let me know he took his daughter by a Friesen Brothers in Edmonton to get his hands on a big old case. What do you call them? A pint? What do they say? A pint of cherries? I know they used to say they used to say a pint of blueberries. This is back in the day where I think people milked the cows themselves.
I love a good cherry as much as the next guy, but don't eat a pint. That'll mess up your stomach.
There you go.
Have you ever? Whew.
Once I start eating cherries, I'm just, oh my gosh. Anyway,
yeah.
You know where to find them for a limited time only. Friesen Brothers is Alberta grown and Alberta owned. Hey, our friends at North Road Investment Council putting out the call across Canada as they are adding to their team. They're looking to find their next group of employees. This is a firm that basically is built on a bedrock of trust. That's one of the reasons we're really proud to partner with North Road Investment Council, an independent Alberta firm that works with successful families, business owners, and professionals that want objective financial advice. And as North Road grows, they're looking for a client service associate to join their Edmonton team. If you have experience in financial services, if you love working surrounded by people in an office environment, if you take pride in delivering an exceptional client experience, this could be a tremendous opportunity. They're also looking for experienced wealth management professionals across Alberta. If you hold a CFA or CFP designation, if you have experience working with high net worth families, North Road offers true independence. You can visit northroadic.com to learn more. That's northroadic.com. North Road Investment Council. Alberta wins every day with Play Alberta because all revenue stays here in the province, and that makes all the difference. Play Alberta is the only app in the province that puts all the revenue directly back into supporting the programs and services that Albertans rely on every day. So whether you play, bet, or buy with casino, sports, or lottery, know that your fun also helps make a difference across the province. You can visit playalberta.ca/realtalk to learn more. That's playalberta.ca/realtalk. You've got to be 18 or over to play. If you gamble, use your game sense. And a big shout out to our friends at Play Alberta, Johnny. They donated a night in the Play Alberta suite at an Oilers game next year. Food and bev included. We put it to live auction at the Real Talk Golf Classic. Congratulations to our winning bidders, the Bond family, contributing $18,500 for the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship. A big shout out to Play Alberta for making that happen. And before we get back to Supriya, I want to remind you, if you're going to be flying through Edmonton International Airport anytime soon, that's YEG. You need to know about YEG Plus. This is Canada's first airport loyalty program. It's very simple. You earn a point for every dollar you spend at the airport. Parking, grabbing a bite to eat, doing a bit of shopping before or after your flight. And as your points build up, you move up tiers, you unlock perks. like free parking. There's way more than that, too. Gift cards, exclusive offers, and more. So the next time you're at YEG, make sure you're getting rewarded. Sign up at yegplus.com/realtalk. That's yegplus.com/realtalk. Supriya Dwivedi joining us in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. I want to recognize this from Big Jim. Thanks for jumping in our super chat on YouTube, Jim. We appreciate it. He says, I was pretty deep into this incel stuff in my early 20s. Thankfully, says Big Jim, I had an understanding yet firm woman friend who gave me a wake-up call. He says social isolation can be a killer.
Yeah.
Have you been described by friends as understanding yet firm?
Is that how you and Johnny talk about me when I'm off air?
She has a couple.
Our understanding yet firm friend Supriya gave me a lecture once again over lunch.
She has a couple
Right, Johnny?
cocktails. She'll tell you exactly how she feels.
Exactly what she thinks. But I would say heavy on the understanding, light on the firm. I feel like you're a pretty you're a pretty roll with it. You're a pretty roll with it type buddy. So we appreciate that.
Thanks, Jespo.
Hey, you got it. Bouquets all day long here. It's my first day of the week on the show, so it's nothing but good vibes. Keir Starmer quits as Labour leader. I think this is worst kept secret of all time. Obviously it was coming. Labour's been struggling, but paves the way for a contest for new prime minister. Says that he'll stay on until one is chosen. But this amid Labour lagging in the polls and the like. What do Canadians need to know about this story?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you and I were talking about Keir Starmer potentially resigning weeks ago, right? So to your point, this has been the writing's been on the wall for a while. I would say, I don't remember exactly what month this would have been, but months ago, folks will remember there was this scandal that happened, the Peter Mandelson scandal, where the UK's ambassador to the United States was this guy who was shown to have huge ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And it was shown that, in these leaked documents that Starmer had ignored very explicit high-level government warnings about, the risks that would happen if this appointment sort of went through. So Starmer ultimately ends up firing Mandelson, and he, admits that his judgment could have been better or whatever. But I think that was really the tipping point. And then everything else has sort of been pushing it further and further into that. And the actual real final sort of blow here would have been when, a sitting Labour MP resigned their seat specifically so that Andy Burnham, who's highly popular former mayor of Greater Manchester, to run for Parliament in that by-election. Andy recently won, and now he's, kind of looked at as the front runner for this race that is going to now take place to be Labour leader and Prime Minister.
Pretty wild. Starmer won by a landslide, fair to say, about 2 years ago, right? Will leave office without an electoral defeat. Do you think that says more about him or about maybe broader instability or broader impatience that's becoming kind of more common in Western democracies? It's not just limited to the UK.
Sure, but I mean, they do it way better than the rest of us when it comes to shuffling through PMs, right?
The head of lettuce, or was it cabbage?
Yeah,
what was?
Yeah, it was lettuce. I think it was lettuce.
Yeah,
but I mean, they've been through so many PMs in the last 10 years, and so I can certainly appreciate that they have the up and up on us when it comes to this. But yeah, look, I think he did win a rather large mandate when it came to the victory he would have won in 2024, but the vote share was quite low, and then he quickly kind of lost a lot of support because let's be real here, Keir Starmer is kind of feckless and doesn't really have a whole lot of backbone, and constantly was eschewing more lefty kind of policies to try and appeal to folks that were wanting to vote for Nigel Farage and for Reform UK. So I think, you asked me off the top, what's the one thing that Canadians can sort of take from this? I've seen some people try and suggest that this is somehow akin to what's going to happen to Carney. And I would say that the environments in which they both came to power are very, very different. in Canada, everybody is sort of rallying around the government, and still to this day, including the current prime minister, because of the moment that we're in with the United States, more or less, right? And then I would say that in the UK, folks started, I think there was a short honeymoon period for Starmer, but that very quickly started to, his poll numbers started to plummet once folks started to get a sense of the kind of leader he would be, and the kinds of positions he would take.
So I've got a buddy of mine who's I don't know why he's going to hear me say this. Why am I saying this? But I won't use his name, and then maybe he'll think I'm talking about someone else. But he is
we'll call
like
him Mr. Infamous.
Mr.
Oh, no, that's too obvious. Johnny I.
I'm so embarrassed. I'm trying to think. What was Ted Dance? It was Sam what in Cheers? What was it, Johnny? Sam. Do you remember Supriya?
His name? Sam Malone.
Sam Malone. Thank you.
Okay.
Our pop
I
culture
don't
correspondent here.
Yeah.
This guy is like my Sam Malone, but in the sense that he owns a brewery and stands behind the bar.
Yeah.
Hey, that still could be 10 different people I'm talking about.
That's true.
But the interesting thing is, like, he's the Cliff Clavin personality, the letter carrier, as the Sam Malone. So he's always the guy that's like, well, and he's got his own thoughts on everything. And he actually really, he provides different perspectives that many times I have not considered in past. And all of this is accurate. And anyway, his point on all of this, and he's a real lefty, by the way, and he's looking at this, and I think he's kind of dismayed about what's happening over in the UK. His parents are from the UK. And he just sort of sees this as like the resurgence of the right, the collapse of the moderate middle, that sort of idea that I'm not using his exact words, but he's concerned that sort of pragmatic, middle of the road politics just aren't feasible in a system that can be cutthroat and that can move fast. I don't know what to offer him on that. Do you think he's on to something?
So I think increasingly it depends how we define middle and how we define centrist. And that, I think, is the main sort of thing here. Because I think if you look at, for example, let's use the U.S. as an example, right? People will look at Trump winning again and go, oh, well, it's because the Democrats weren't appealing enough to the centrist vote, the more moderate votes. And so that's why, Trump just came in and sort of swooped them all up. But if you actually look at what the Democrats were sort of campaigning on, and I mean, I've mentioned this to you both on and off air, it's like they weren't even trying to do the lefty thing. They weren't even trying to get their actual, capital D Democratic partisan voters out to vote. They were kept trying to appeal to this somewhat non-existent hardcore centrist voter that was somehow going to be taken by, not a humane policy on Gaza, but we're going to be taken by rallies with Liz Cheney showing up, right? Like, so I can certainly appreciate why folks, see something like a Starmer resigning and a Nigel Farage kind of really taking off and going like, okay, well, there's no room for centrist or middle of the road politics anymore. But I would say often the politicians themselves don't even really know what a centrist or moderate policy would be. And they're kind of making it up in their head based on disparate data points of like polling and, focus groups and other exit polls or whatever the case may be. And they kind of come up with a smorgasbord of policies that aren't really that appealing to anyone. And I think, again, using the example of in the U.S. of the Democrats, if, moving forward about who's going to take the mantle in 2028, I think it needs to be somebody who's going to actually appeal to progressive voters in a way that I don't think Kamala Harris could do or did.
Yeah. I've been revealed in our live chat, powered by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider, but people have hit the nail on the head. Scarlett's correct. It is Darren McGowan at Arcadia Brewing Company.
Scarlett, always right.
Well, yeah. she knows what's up, and I don't know. I would say I'd buy Darren a beer, but I'll tell you what, I'll just go there and buy 5 beers and help the business. I encourage everybody to do so as well. Darth Espresso says, so he's a handsome dope. Is that a compliment? I'm not sure. He prognosticated, he forecasted the Brady Tkachuk trade happening. I'll give him that credit. Anybody in Ontario buzzing about? I know it's Ottawa. I know that people in Toronto can't stand the Senators, and for the most part, and Are you personally
haven't
lamenting
checked
the
in.
loss of
No.
another American captain leaving Canada for the United States? Do you have strong feelings about Brady heading to Florida?
Cried all morning over it.
Yeah, I know.
It's amazing my eyeliner is still intact.
My friends in Ottawa are going to love this, but despite my wife's objections, I acquired both of the Tkachuk brothers for my fantasy hockey team, so I couldn't be more thrilled to see them united
So
on the Panthers' second line.
I'm
So it's
Team
just,
Carey here.
Yeah.
Like, what? Why did okay?
she's actually, and then I hired their dad, Keith. Congratulations on being inducted to the Hall of Fame. I hired him as my fantasy head coach. It's a whole thing. Yeah. I mean, how am I talking about? No, I'm not going to joke. I was going to joke about incels, but I'm not going to do it. And we'll cut that from the podcast. How's that? Maturity in real time. Before we go, Parliament is wrapped for the summer, and there's a lot happening. And we can talk about this more the next time we chat. Obviously, we'll have a lot to get to through the summer and the like. I see some interesting storylines. Jonathan Wilkinson resigning. He'll be Canada's ambassador to the EU, right? There's some other moves. There's like 6 by-elections looming. I think the Liberals only have to win one of them to keep control of the House. But some sort of late-stage legislation passing as the Liberals enjoy the luxury of a now majority government, et cetera. What are one or two storylines that you look on right now, maybe that was accomplished through that session? Any reek of, I don't know, say scandal, but some controversy that the government's poo-pooing around what they're calling now tinfoil hat conspiracies?
I love the setup. Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, look, I think on the one hand, you can't fault any government for wanting to pass legislation, particularly when one of the major criticisms of the last parliamentary session was that the government didn't pass enough legislation, right? So a government's right to pursue their own legislative agenda. But as you noted, there is cause for concern here, because if you look at some of the more objectively contentious bills like Bill C-22 or lawful access, as it is known, the Liberals have been basically poo-pooing away any legit criticism, and there's significant substantive criticism, not just coming from annoying people like me, but from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, from civil society groups, from experts in, privacy and encryption and data that are all coming forward to raise concerns about this bill. And you had Minister McKinnon, who's the House leader, kind of dismiss it as tinfoil hat conspiracies. And that, I think, is not a normal thing for a government to want to do. I think a government should look at the criticisms that they're getting. And I've spoken about lawful access on this show before. I think that there is a, very significant overreach when it comes to metadata retention in particular. The government will say that they have to be in line with our Five Eyes allies, but that argument completely falls apart when you realize that under U.S. federal law, the closest comparison is a 90-day retention period. Ours was initially going to be a year. They've shortened that to 6 months, but that's still double of what the U.S. has. And then if you look at what the European courts have found, they've found that metadata that links online activity to your identity is considered private, and our own Supreme Court has found that. So it's very unlikely that this bill is going to survive a charter challenge or a judicial review here. And yet we're still forging ahead with it for reasons like it's unclear to me. But, it's on its way to becoming law, and we're kind of stuck with it. So let's see, I guess, what happens. It'll be interesting to see now, I think, because there were a number of VPN companies and other tech companies that said if this was going to come to fruition, this bill, that they were going to have to pull out of Canada. So let's see what happens in the fall.
Yeah, it's a big deal, obviously. July 1st, a big day for a number of reasons. Number one, obviously, Canada Day. There's a pipeline deadline attached to it. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be paying attention to see what develops over the summer, in particular on the energy expansion front. But there's other stories happening. What's one thing that you'll be keeping an eye on through July and August when it comes to maybe, the biggest things, the biggest tasks on the Prime Minister's list?
I honestly, my answer is going to be the same as it would have been if you'd asked me this a year ago, and it's going to be U.S. trade stuff. You know what I mean? I think that's what's going to loom large here. Trying to remodernize, Kuzma to the degree to which we need to, while also ensuring that Donald Trump doesn't just put aside whatever new deal we're going to ink is, I think, going to be the government's, particularly the prime minister's number one priority moving forward, because that's why he was elected, right?
The thing about the Kuzma deadline on July 1st, and I don't know if this is, I love our relationships and the voices we hear from like Alberta Chambers of Commerce, Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, business advocacy groups. They help me understand the dynamics are at play here. And I think that uncertainty is almost always bad for business, I guess, unless you're in the business of uncertainty. But, the July 1st deadline, if it's missed, like they're right now looking at it. And I was surprised the more I read about this, a 16-year extension, which is wild. If you consider how much industry changes, if you consider how much the world changes in 16 years. But if they elect, if the parties don't see eye to eye within the next 2 weeks or less, 1 week, which is, I would love to be surprised. I would love for there to be a deal where, Carney and Trump can shake hands. They can do the Carney, Danielle Smith handshake and laugh and smile and sign, and it'll be great. But if it doesn't happen, then it just sort of rolls over into those annual reviews as well, right? It's not like Kuzma doesn't explode.
No. It doesn't blow up. That's a good point. Yeah.
So it's not like the sky is falling.
No, but it's the uncertainty, right? And it's and the problem is that we don't have something that's properly inked or that's moving towards a properly, proper ink deal or whatever. It's the constant, let's see what he posts to Truth Social and then have to deal with the repercussions of it and have to, figure out how we're supporting a certain sector of the economy, as the case may be. So you're right, is that the whole thing doesn't blow up, but it's just I don't know. It's the uncertainty really does a number, particularly in the long run. And if you're in one of these, hardly hit sectors, then you care about that sort of thing. And then you're going to want to write your MP increasingly.
Big time.
Point out that you care about that sort of thing. You know?
And let me clarify. I know that some people are being absolutely hammered by the current situation, including those tariffs, and are desperate for some sort of relief or some sort of certainty there. I acknowledge that definitely is a thing. I just think it's important to point out that if the deadline's it's one of these things. My life works in sporting metaphors, and so this is kind of how I understand the world. It's when certain deadlines pass, it's not the end of the world, and sometimes a team or a player or an organization is not going to make a bad deal. Carney said he's not going to make a bad deal, and so if I see some people here, which is totally fine, like Kenzie, chirping the prime minister a little bit, says so glad Carney is dealing with Trump, as was his campaign promise. Not to carry water for the PM, but maybe this is his version of dealing with Trump. Is I'm not going to sign a bad deal. I'm not going to get big dogged. And so remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I think that's a good strategy, by the way, is not getting big dog and not signing a bad deal. Because if you look at, and I know the conservatives constantly point this out, it's well, look, they got a deal and they got a deal and they got a deal. They're all bad deals. All of them are bad. The EU signing a blanket 15% across the board tariff deal, that's a fucking bad deal. That's something that Canada should not aspire to. And if the rest of them had a backbone to kind of stick up to Trump the way that, the prime minister is doing right now, perhaps there would have been better strength in numbers. I don't know.
Coming up this Thursday, that'll be the 25th of June. I am so honored to accept Her Worship, Mayor Alana Nachu's invitation to return as host of her Mayor's Tournament out at beautiful Sturgeon Valley Golf Course. I can't wait for that, and I am thrilled that you have agreed to take the reins. A couple of episodes from now, you're going to be hosting the show. What can people expect?
Yeah, I'm going to have Taylor Owen. He's a professor at McGill University, an expert in online harms, AI, and all that jazz, to join me. We're going to nerd out for a good chunk of the show. Send any questions you have when it comes to algorithms, online harms, AI policy, online news act, any sort of digital tech AI policy that you've had a question about. Taylor and I will hope to answer and get into, because there's a ton, particularly in the last few weeks, from this government federally that has been proposed, and we're going to get into all of it.
Love that. People can send questions at him to talk at ryanjesperson.com. We'll forward them to you. And then, of course, you'll be keeping an eye on the live chat through the show. Thank you for this. And it's always good to see your face. And we'll talk to you again, you and I, within a week.
Talk soon, buddy.
All right, that's Supriya Dwivedi in our feature interview presented by our friends at Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. I've been shouting out all of our sponsors at the Real Talk Golf Classic, the 5th annual that went down at the Ranch Golf and Country Club this past Thursday. Got to shout out our friends at Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. Johnny, they had just a stunning Benzo parked on the tee box up for grabs, and I do believe us to be the only golf tournament in the province of Alberta that has 4 $100,000 holes in one, and 3 of them for cash, presented by amazing sponsors, which we appreciate, including our friends at California Closets. Check out californiaclosets.ca. Our friends at Mercedes had a nice, beautiful black sedan parked on the tee box there. And I was quick to point out to our golfers that morning before they headed out that afternoon, let's be real, 2 p.m. shotgun, keeping it real. This is not one of those sort of like, you've been in these golf tournaments where there's fine print all over and they have a vehicle parked on the tee box, and if you jar it from like 190 yards, you get to drive it for a year, or you get like $50,000 towards the purchase of the vehicle. No. There's no small print. There's no strings attached. If you jar it at the Real Talk Golf Classic, our friends at Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West send you home with the keys to the Mercedes to keep, and I wanted to shout them out. We sure appreciate that.
I haven't been in any golf tournaments, right? Except ours, and I don't even play.
What are you doing with all of every year we get from our friends at the Promo Addict in Sherwood Park, although I'll be clear, we pay for them. Maybe they could improve on that. Maybe they could get us a little bit more gear for free while we're stomping here for ourselves. But you have received over the past 4 to 5 years, 4 or 5 beautiful FootJoy golf shirts, custom embroidered and branded. Yeah. If you never
wear them once a year,
if you're never playing golf anywhere else, what a tragic waste. You and I need to get out and play more golf.
I mean, I would
maybe
love
with our
to.
Patreon supporters.
I need a backup here. You've got 2.
With our YouTube
none.
channel members,
and then I could come with you.
Yeah, I do have 2 backups, and you have
you
none.
You do.
We do need to get you a backup. Although you know what's going to happen is just going to be you and me golfing every day, and then Rob Breckenridge and Supriya just alternating episodes.
I look, I love this job. I love this show. I love this building. I love this country.
I love this bar.
But one thing I'll say, man, is and real talkers aren't going to like this. We need to take more. You need to. This is you should be taking whatever days off you want. You wake up. You wake up and you don't feel 100. Sorry, guys. Today, no, I'm just kidding. But when we take time off, look what happens.
I can't stay away from real talkers.
Just
can't.
We're both workaholics.
So we're workaholics, and we love you guys, and we're not going anywhere. But we're gonna do a little bit here and there for self care and we got to keep our tanks filled. We got to keep our buckets filled.
Yeah.
As we approach, this is gonna be a big fall. It's gonna be the biggest fall.
It's going to be crazy.
Let me say autumn. I don't know, the biggest fall in Real Talk history sounds negative.
It's coming, though.
It's going to be a big autumn and the referendum, and we're just going to make sure that we're not, typically in the summer, you see these like shows. I saw Jimmy Kimmel just announced, who's it, Rosie O'Donnell, that's stepping into host for him for 2 months while he takes a 2-month hiatus. We're not going to do you dirty like that, Real Talkers.
but like also... We kind of avoid, like work is great because the world just melts away, right? And that's another thing. We're working on that, okay? As men on a podcast, we know that we avoid things by working all the time. But it's so hard not to when, like, look at this today. Like, we're catching up on everything. We're seeing how everybody feels about it. Like, this is like a window to the world every day. It's amazing.
Yeah. I see, and again, like we said, we're away doing other stuff for a few episodes, and all hell breaks loose. Like Super Chat Ken bringing up the coal petition as well in our live chat. I know that's kind of like a random, but also another
Signatures
huge story. Like
confirmed in time. Yeah,
Danielle Smith, the premier, not putting Corb's question. I know Corb Lund doesn't want to call it Corb's question. He's got a ton of volunteers.
I do like that.
Corb's Q. And we're going to get Corb on the show. I said to him, I would rather have him in person down at the Stampede for our Stampede episodes live at the National Music Center. Mm-hmm. He's recorded there. He's performed there at the historic King Eddie. So, but we are going to talk to Corb about that. I don't speak on behalf of him, and I won't betray his confidence in our private communication, but that guy is steamed. And I can understand why. Ken says it's ironic the coal petition delayed by the premier changing the law after its application was already open, forcing them to reapply 2 months later, and now suddenly they're too late.
Yeah.
Says it's almost like it was the plan all along.
Yeah.
It feels
June
to me
1st was the
well,
cutoff?
well, it feels to me to be, and I don't, let me be clear here. I don't speak on behalf of Corb here, and I've not spoken directly to the Premier about this. So I'm just noticing what I see, but I will say that I've heard from the horse's mouth, Corb, that he met with Danielle Smith, he met with the Premier, and she basically told him, and Corb can share the account on the show when he comes back on the show, she basically told him, or at least he told me that she told him, that if they got the signatures, they would be on the, they'd be there. Mm-hmm. They'd be there on October 19th with the other 10 questions.
But now the announcement is that they couldn't verify them all in time.
Right. It just seems to me to be a bit of a bad faith move, and I think it's a tough look. Like, if you're making it super easy for one group to get their question on, and then the optics is that you're making it quite difficult or throwing up roadblocks for another group to get their question on, it should prompt questions from the public.
But I talked about this the week before last week. The questions are hedging bets, right? The questions are all, I guarantee this is going to be positive for our Premier and UCP regardless, because people are going to check, even if you look at all 9 of those questions, even a reasonable, non-separatist person who probably voted for the NDP, they could be persuaded to check one of those boxes because the questions are framed so reasonably, like, should we do this? Should we allow this? And someone might just check a box. So at the end of the day, no matter what all the boxes add up to, they're all going to be like disdain for the federal government, support for the UCP, support for, the agenda of our Premier, etc. So that Corb question, that it's like one of these things are not like the other, right? Uh-huh. So when it was coming up, I'm like, I don't know if this will ever make it.
Yeah. Nick says it's bullshit that the signatures haven't been verified. There's lots of time to print ballots and verify before the date. Matthew says, meantime, we're voting on a vote for separation in order to get it on the ballot before the signatures are verified. Marie says, I've had coffee with Corb, and he definitely spoke with the Premier, and she did say that it would be on the ballot. I mean, Jillian says it's always so weird to me when conservatives are shocked when right-wing politicians treat them the way that they treat everybody else. Kenzie says conservatives are finally responding to the decades-long progressive push that has been so detrimental to society. I would say this is like, to state the obvious, like on the surface level, here's how it looks to me, is when you're talking about referendums or when you're talking about anything that drives voter turnout, right? Everybody talks about GoTV, right? Like get out the vote, GOTV. Like that's the most important thing. You can have the biggest campaign budget. You can be the biggest fundraiser. You can have the most billboards. You be using the best software, the best data tracking apps. You can have the hottest or most handsome door knockers. But if you can't get out the vote, you're going to flop. You're going to fall. And so when it comes to something like this referendum with questions that are pretty significant when it comes to the magnitude of this ripple effect that Alberta could see as a result, right? Most notably, a binding referendum on the province's future in or outside of Canada, then you're going to wonder, well, what will drive people to the polls? What will drive people to turn out on October 19th, right? And the separation question is an interesting one for me. I don't know how you feel about this, Johnny, whether you think that the separation question, does it drive more separatists to the polls? Does it motivate more separatists, or does it motivate more people, more federalists, more people that want to fight to keep Alberta in Canada? It's a question, and we can debate that, and we will debate that this summer. And Real Talkers, I'd love to know where you land on that. But I would guarantee that the coal question, if you're talking about Venn diagrams, if you feel a certain way about separation, how do you feel about immigration? Or how do you feel about judges being appointed? Or how do you feel about Alberta collecting its own taxes? Or how do you feel about immigrants paying for their own health care? Yeah, there's going to be some overlap. There's going to be some correlation. My guess, and you can prove me wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll read your email during the flamethrower. Coming up this Friday, presented by the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park, who, by the way, presented their Dilly Bar shooters, their world-famous Dilly Bar shooters at the Real Talk Golf Classic. Thank you to our friends at the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park for their incredible continued support. If you think I'm wrong on this, submit a flamethrower to talk@ryanjesperson.com. My guess is that if you're a separatist, you probably would like to see Alberta collecting its own taxes. You'd probably like to see Alberta having more of a say in appointing its own judges. You would probably like to see, and here's where it may get into the gray area and where I may be wrong, but you may be more inclined to support new Canadians or immigrants to Alberta paying for their own healthcare, their own education for the first year, whatever the case may be. Maybe, probably, right? So that'll drive turnout to the referendum. But on the coal question, here's where I have no question and no doubt. If the coal question is on the referendum ballot, Johnny, I guarantee it drives turnout for people that will fight for Alberta and for Canada's watershed. I guarantee it will fight for people that want to see the eastern slopes of the Rockies protected more so than it will drive turnout for people that want to support expansion of or continued coal mining in the eastern slopes, coal mining in the Rockies, right? Like you're going to have people from Crow's Nest Pass. I'm not making this it's not a pejorative. There's several hundred people down in that beautiful part of the province that work in coal, that have worked in coal, whose communities support coal mining for obvious reasons. It's for the most part why they live there, or at least in a lot of circumstances, right? So they're going to support it, but like that's a negligible number when it comes to voter turnout on a referendum, right? If you look at the people who wants to protect our water and our land, our environment, who's upset that an Australian billionaire is coming in and basically harvesting Alberta's resources with minimal royalties coming back to the province of Alberta. Well, the coal question could drive a lot of pro-Canada people.
Of course it did.
Right? Yeah. If you signed the Water Not Coal petition, you're probably not an Alberta separatist. And I guarantee there are some exceptions, and I'd love to hear from you if you're an exception. But I would guarantee that for the most part, the coal question would drive a pro-Canada turnout. And part of me wonders if that's not a driving force behind the decision to deny that question on October 19th.
Yeah, I'll just say it. I think this is, and I know people don't want to hear it who are on the other side, but it's going to be a pro. It's going to be a positive for this government no matter what. Because I think, like you just said, even the people who come out just to say no to that first question, or am I getting it right? It's such a confusing question. Or do I say yes? Whatever. To say Canada does not want to even discuss having a referendum on a referendum on a whatever. Canada does not want to separate. Might go to the next question and say, you know what? I do think the Canadian Senate is kind of useless and it's a waste of money and it's this and that. They might check that box. Or they might check a box that says, you know, one of the other kind of confusing. I had them up when Rob was on. We were going through them and they're worded very common sense, very like everybody should agree with these things. But when you really break down what it would take to make those questions come into effect to prevent immigrants from taking themselves or their children to get health care or things like that, it seems ridiculous, right? So I guarantee a couple of those boxes are going to get checked by people who may be pro-Canada and anti-separation, right? But here's the thing I want to say to separatists out there. I better not see any of you taking Canada Day off. I better not see any of you at the bars, the patios, the lakes. I don't want to see any of you camping. I want to see you all at work sharp 8:30 a.m. on July 1st, separatists.
No, didn't you know that when Alberta becomes its own country, every day is Alberta Day? Roll into work at 11, leave at 3.
If I see
no income tax, it's going to be unreal.
If I see anyone roll up to the patio, I would be stereotypical now, but I'm just joking around. In a big 4x4 with dig baby dig, drill baby drill, Alberta independence stickers on, I'm going to run over and be like, what are you doing here today, man? Aren't you a goddamn separatist?
Oh, Chief says those mountains we're talking about are sacred for ceremony. JJ Needs a Nap says, I work in a quantitative research field. This whole referendum thing, it's not a vote. It's a survey. Says this is costing the public so much money for something that can be and has been already easily done. Tracy, by the way, pointing out that AI data centers are going to deplete water, electricity, and pollute more than they're worth. That's another thing that we'll be talking about through the summer and more. Others of you are questioning, Aaron says, for example, the Premier knows this is a thing, coal, that people want to vote on, so put it on there. I 100% agree. Ambustion says, I think the pro-Canada vote has more motivated voters. I don't know about that. I mean, listen, I hope you're right. Says the separatists are concentrated in their support, but they just don't have the numbers. I
agree.
Feel like you're right about that, but that does not mean that we, and when I say we, I've told you, if this is your first time ever listening to Real Talk, number one, welcome. Number two, I'm not playing objective on the whole Alberta separation thing. We've planted our flag. The collective we is the pro-Canada we. I'm excited to let you know as well that soon we will have special limited edition Real Talk hoodies available. The order has been placed. You have asked for them. We will deliver. They are referendum themed. However, are you a little nervous? They are referendum themed.
This is the first time hearing this, Real Talkers.
Yeah, I'm breaking news to you all week. See, because we haven't hung out. Like, we text a little bit when we're off, but I try to stay out of your hair. Your glorious,
people don't realize
hair.
I said
but
this
I will
the other
say,
day. We spend every waking minute together. So when we take a week off, we kind of
take it off for our own mental health, so you don't quit. But I will say that like the hoodies and everything else, and the million other things that people are doing, is to make sure we motivate people. Again, 100%. Go TV, get out the vote. Don't let it be. They're concentrated, and I'm not taking a shot at the commenter there. I'm not taking a shot at the commenter. I to a certain degree, I'm with you. But do not allow yourself on the 19th of October to believe that, it's going to be less than 20% and, fuck, I'm busy and I got to drop off or pick up my dry cleaning, so I'm not going to make it. Don't let that happen.
Very important.
And at the very end of the day, like, scoreboard matters on this one. The scoreboard will send a message to the rest of Canada, and it needs to be sub 20%.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, because we say this all the time. I don't believe they have the numbers either, but I hate when I say that. I hate when that vibe, when that thought goes out into the stratosphere, because that will compel someone who, I know there's people out there who never voted before on anything. They don't give a shit, right? And they still have an opinion, but they don't go to the polls. Maybe they work hard. Maybe they're just not involved in politics, whatever it is. But man, if you love Canada, you gotta go for this one, because you can sit there and say they don't have the numbers. It's only 30%. But if the other side doesn't show up, this is gonna be very. I mean, look what happened in Quebec. Mm-hmm. We do not want that to happen here. We don't want a scoreboard cut down the middle. We want to show exactly what I think the signatures of the first two petitions showed, that there's way more people that love Canada, and no matter if they're sitting on a fence where they're disgruntled with the federal government, or they're way on the left and say, piss off, we're fine. Whatever you are, just get out to the polls and vote if you want Canada to remain how it is. And like someone I was having a drink with someone the other day, and they're like, well, this one's not important, right? It's if we go to the next referendum. I'm like, dude, we don't want to go to the next one.
And every time we're doing it, it's going to cost $70 million.
You want to get to step 2? We got to shut this down now.
Right? I love the passion. Just one of the reasons why we love you, Johnny. Ben Demon Hunter checking in says, good morning to Real Talkers from the Mazankowski Heart Institute at the U of A. Ben, we hope you're there, in good spirits. Not sure the story, but shouting you out in particular, Ben, a valued member of this audience. Hope everything's cool. I do know that you are in the world's best care at the Mazankowski Heart Institute, the Maz, they call it, at the U of A, and we've been proud to support that in past. Ben, that lands, right? Or that's real life, a Real Talker there right now. Marie says, keep an eye on court cases that are geared up to protect the Eastern Slope. Says Trevor, is it Bastine? Trevor Bastine is suing a coal company for protection of Crow's Nest Lake. Says people can check into his GoFundMe. Ken says the question was purposely set up to fool people into staying home and keep the next question alive. It was the compromise that the premier needed to placate the separatist nuttery in her party. Dwayne says the referendum is confusing, unconstitutional, illegal, and contains racist undertones. And I've seen several of you say what Shauna is saying. She says, and the questions aren't binding, so, like, why? I think it's just a bargaining chip,
Scoreboard.
To be honest. I mean, I think it's one of those things where, like, as a parent of a now 4-year-old, like, every once in a while you just put them out on the trampoline for a while. And, like, just get out the energy. Scream, yell, do what you got to do. Let it out. It's like a turbo blow-off valve. I don't know. Maybe it's a way to just release some of the tension in the party. I don't know.
I still believe this is going to get shut down, but I also remain firm on the point that it's going to look good for our premier and the UCP. I mean, you just said it there. Like, somebody just said in the chat, actually, 95% turnout when Quebec did this, right? And we're telling people, like, let's get out. Let's make sure the vote isn't like, here's the score, but only 70% of Albertans voted who were able to vote. Let's make sure that's 90 and above. But then even if that is, And the numbers come back and it was like, okay, we don't want to have a referendum on separation. But look at this box that 60% of that 90% of Albertans are unhappy with. And look at this other one that 45%. You know what I mean? I just feel like no matter what happens, those numbers are going to reflect positively for Premier Smith.
100%. By the way, Ben follows up from the Maz. He says, I'm mostly okay. Thanks for asking. He says, I just started having chest pain around Christmas, and I need to find out why. Ben, shout out to you for taking your health seriously and for going to get that checked out. More men in particular, but more men in particular need to do that. We're not very good at
heart health?
Getting just everything in general. It's like something's a little off with our health, and we don't get it checked, and then
I'll just have 7 Tums today.
Well, because right?
You know what it
is.
Yeah,
but a lot of times the symptoms go away after a while, and then you're like, remember that? And I had like a weird sort
of. That's how things start, and then they get persistent, and then it's too late.
Totally. We had I've got a lot of love for a personal family friend of ours. We got some really tough news just last week, and this is not a matter of his dad not getting the symptoms checked out. It was just roared in fast. Johnny, we had a beloved family member of ours. My youngest brother is one of his best friends, a guy he traveled Australia with for like a year. His dad, who's like, for all intents and purposes, in good health, just a very short time ago, was looking a little jaundiced,
Oh, really?
His skin was a little off. And so
Liver?
he went, I guess it started in the pancreas. Anyway, so he goes, he gets a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer that was spreading. Jeez. Johnny, 2 weeks after his diagnosis, he passed away.
Oh.
2 weeks after his diagnosis. Our heart is with the Martin family. We love you guys. I can't even believe I'm saying that out loud, that happened. And our hearts are it's Josh, my brother's buddy, who is just a beloved. I mean, he's almost like a family member. When I see him, we call him Martini. We give him a big hug, love him so much. And we just think about that. It's like his dad went and got checked. He did what you're supposed to do. Sometimes it's just like this grave diagnosis you can't do anything about. But it's just so important for us to take our health seriously.
We do. I'll be candid. I was having like energy level and like I was sleeping a lot a few months ago, and I just immediately my brain goes like, I have cancer.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not always a bad thing to just go, even if you're worried like that, because I went, and thank God I got every test under the sun, poked in every hole, stabbed in every vein, all my levels checked. And what was it? Low iron. So now I take
But you can do something about
a couple
it, right?
iron sup pills every
Notice
night
the
before
difference?
bed. And now I don't take a nap every day after work. I still love a siesta there, Real Talkers, at least twice a week. But it was just a simple thing. So like, I know we're all worried. I think it's the fear too, right? You think, okay, I'm getting that age, 45, 50, 55.
Yeah.
This has to be horrible. It doesn't have to be horrible,
No.
but it could be. So just go.
Lauren says, denial is dangerous. Always get checked out. He's 100% right. Aaron just says, boys, go to the doctor. So true. So very true. Lauren follows up by saying, life is precarious. Isn't that the truth? I want to get to, Aaron says, so much love to that family. I know Aaron, and I don't know if this message will reach them. They're obviously, I think, just, I don't know how do you process something like that, but just much love. And I think, too, let me just say this too, Father's Day, I'm so blessed. I've got this healthy 4-year-old. I got this 10, soon to be 11-year-old. These are the glory years, right? I'm the guy that's up at like 2:30 in the morning. I can't sleep. I'm scrolling my Instagram reels, and they're all that voiceover that's like, when you're 80 years old, lying in bed, you'll look back and wish that you could go to today, where your son is 4 and saying, Daddy, watch this. And then I have like tears streaming down, and I'm just like, these are the glory years.
Crazy.
And I'm watching it, so Father's Day was a special one for me. And then you know what I see also? And I know that this will reach a lot of you, is I see so many people posting in tribute to their dads on Father's Day saying, Dad, I miss you. For one of you, I mean, Josh, it was like days ago, he posted this heartbreaking, beautiful photo. But then others, one of my friends, she was like, Dad, you've been gone 9 years. One of my friends, their dad was gone for 25 years already. They lost their dad young. It's these things where I know it's difficult. It can be a very difficult day.
It is. And I I always talking to my uncle down in the States, and he's my father's brother. My father's passed. I didn't have my dad in my life a lot. So, we're talking together, texting, but he knows the vibe. Like, I'm his brother's son whose father's, like, it was great to connect with him. But at the same time, there's this backdrop of sadness. It's always hard. You know, my partner too, like lost her Mother's Day, Father's Day. It's always hard posting like a guy like you, got 2 great kids, incredible wife, posting all this happiness when you know there's a lot of people out there going through sadness. And it's so cliche to say, but man, when I see kids nowadays, I just want to, God, am I old? I'm calling people kids now. I'm still a kid. I want to grab their face like Adam Sandler. Remember in Billy Madison? Cherish it.
Cherish it.
It's the
but
most,
it's so true.
The most cliche thing wise older people, my grandfather always said to me was like, you're going to look back, you're going to wish you spent more time with family. You're going to wish you stayed home a couple more weekends than you did. Didn't sneak out of the house. Didn't go to that party. And, you know, just cherish all these moments because, you know, they can be gone so fast. One day you wake up.
So true, man.
You're old. It's
so
over.
True. Lauren says it's his first Father's Day without his dad. Lauren, much love to you. Pongy says Father's Day's hard when dad is gone for sure. Mine's been gone 14 years now. Noob, there he is, our volunteer extraordinaire. Shout out to like Noob. I hesitate to name the volunteers because if I miss one, I'll feel sick. But like Noob and Gilles and Amissa and everybody else that turned out to volunteer at the Real Talk Golf Classic. So much love for you guys. Noob says, Jespo, I sure feel that as a dad, you know, thinking of my dad. And the fathers that were not blood, but blessed my life with their care and brought me into their families. That's such a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I saw a great Scott Galloway video over the weekend.
Man, he's so smart.
Oh,
I love
dude,
that guy.
It's just like, and I know he pisses some people off because he's blunt, but he was talking about single moms, and he was like, this isn't like a, you know, this isn't an insult, but get out there, even if you don't have a man in your life. There's men out there who want to help. Just get out there and ask a man to take a kid to a baseball game, take him to the park, throw a football around. Because, I mean, this thing we're talking about today with Montreal and everything, I don't know if that's the case in this, but like,
no, I think it's okay.
You need if a kid doesn't have, you know, a young man doesn't have a man in their life, it's a dangerous thing. Like, and there's guys out there who want to help women. If you talk to them, who understand, who say, listen, my kid doesn't have a guy. Can you take him toss a football around? Can you take him to a baseball game? Can you take him to whatever, a bike ride? Because when those guys aren't there in those young men's lives, that dangerous stuff is happening every day. And it's in the news. It's freaking horrible.
It's true, dude. M. Aitken says, I miss my dad every day. Nia says, I lost my dad in 97 to cancer, lost my mom 2022 to lung disease. Nia, I'm sorry. Says, I cherish my in-laws. I wouldn't know what to do without them. Kat says, Kat's dad passed with Maid 5 years ago, says, I miss him so much. My father-in-law passed last year, Kat says, so it was a sad Father's Day for Kat. Much love to you, Kat. And then, here's a tough comment from Spartus and Hack, who says, not all parents are cherished. I can respect that, too. I understand that, like, I get that.
I think about that every Father's Day, too, because my father was
Father's Day for a lot of people would be really triggering.
He wasn't the greatest guy, my dad, and I think about all the other dads who I'm like, this is a trigger day for a lot of people. This is a day people don't want to think about.
Yeah, that's an important point. I'm never surprised when real talkers broaden our conversations, add new perspectives. It's why this live chat is so important. It's why we're so grateful for Park Power, California Closets, making sure that happens with our live stream and our live chat every day. But I acknowledge that about like literally 95% of this audience catches the show after it's live. So if you're hearing something
later,
right now, live or later, if you're hearing something that's resonating with you, you can always send us an email. We welcome it to talk@ryanjesperson.com. I'm wondering, like, we're kind of running. I feel like we should put Jeromy
First day
Farkas.
back.
We got to get Jeromy Farkas' response to Danielle Smith on this.
You
on
got
the
the
fun
video?
on the fun. Yeah, I got the video
Okay.
on the fun police. This what do you want to call it? I mean, it feels like it's like the Stampede pissing contest. That's what this is. I don't even know what. It's
Real talkers.
What is going on?
I cannot wait to make a thumbnail with fun police involved. I'm just thinking of all the ideas.
So we got to get to that. And what am I going to be again? The fun commissioner? I'm going to get a fun.
I'll have you in the back.
I think what we need is like old
Like
school
at a podium.
Western. Like the little kids, you get the sheriff badge. Hey, Toy Story 5, like the Woody badge, the sheriff badge. We got to get fun police badges for the Calgary Stampede. Maybe we'll go to the Helm to get them. I don't know. It's not really their shtick. But if you are looking for proper accoutrement for anything this summer, may I recommend that you check out the Helm either online at thehelmclothing.com, or if you're going to be in the Metro Edmonton region, in particular downtown, you got to check out their luxury 3-story retail experience. The Helm is where I go every time I need to look my best, and if you want to check them out online right now, you can browse their latest arrivals. Again, the website is thehelmclothing.com. This is luxury, refined, casual wear. If you're getting ready for patio party season, garden parties, maybe you have a wedding or a big birthday or anniversary coming up, maybe a retirement party where you just want to nail that look of classic simplicity, elegant luxury, refined. I mean, I could sit here with adjectives all day long to describe the new collection at The Helm, but you can check it out yourself at thehelmclothing.com. When you pop into the store, let them know that Real Talk sent you. And don't forget, if you are shopping The Helm online, make sure you use the promo code REALTALK. It'll knock 10% off your entire order, which is a big deal. Check out their new Xenia sunglasses. If you're looking for new shades, check out thehelmclothing.com, 10% off with the promo code REALTALK. Our friends at UCAN Youth Services, well, they need our help, quite frankly. Real Talk, a critical funding gap, is putting trusted support for vulnerable youth at risk, and we're asking you to help keep the Relentless program running. This is the Y50, this list they talk about. These are the young people, the top 50 that are interacting with police services in the Metro Edmonton region. That's not a good list to be on. Now, these are kids, 12 to 17, that are in the back of cop cars, that are experiencing homelessness, that are waking up and going to bed hungry. I mean, the Relentless program is so important, and the return on investment is remarkable. You know that young people that have interacted with law enforcement, that have either been arrested or charged, that are connected with UCAN Youth Services and connected with the Relentless campaign, do you know that there is a 68% chance they will not reoffend? 68%. I need to be yelling this from the top of the Edmonton Tower. This funding makes sense. And these are kids we're talking about. Behind every crisis is a kid. And we're asking you to consider supporting the Relentless program at ucan.ca. That's ucan.ca. If you do find yourself as an adult interacting with the justice system, I'm going to refer you to Purser Law. You know, good people can find themselves in tough situations, right? One moment, one misunderstanding, one charge. Suddenly you're navigating a legal system that most people know nothing about. And that's where Purser Law comes in. They focus exclusively on criminal defense, working tirelessly to protect their clients' rights and their future. You don't have to face this alone. If you or somebody that you care about needs experienced criminal defense, start with a free consultation. You can visit Purser Law online at criminalappeals.net. That's Purser Law online at criminalappeals.net. All right, so we'll see where this goes as Alberta's premier and Calgary's mayor battle it out on who's really... I mean, listen, no matter what happens here, Stampede's going to be a blast. Everybody's going to have a great time.
It always is.
You know what this is it's like the premier taking a swipe at Calgary's mayor for who knows why, saying that the fun police have struck. She doesn't like the noise bylaw. I would imagine that Paul Vickers, the Cowboys owner, probably pulled some strings and got her ear, and she posted on Instagram, looks like the fun police have struck. Mm-hmm. Jeromy Farkas doesn't like it, rubs him the wrong way, as it would me if I was the mayor of Calgary
100%.
2 weeks out from the Calgary Stampede and the premier's cracking on me. Mm-hmm. So he pushes back on the AGLC increasing the price of beer, and then now you've basically got this sort of like squabble over really dumb shit, if we're being honest. Ahead of the Calgary Stampede. Yeah. So Calgary's mayor has released a video, and I think we should play it now. It's out on his Instagram. It's just a few hours old. First of all, Rick Bell.
I thought you were going to say hours long. I'm like, well, Ryan.
You invited me to. First day back. Rick Bell I won't say loves the premier. I enjoy Rick's writing, but like Rick is pretty pro-premier. But he describes the mayor, Farkas, as on fire, says Danielle Smith pushes back. This is the Stampede tent brawl. Farkas posts a video. Johnny, you got my audio ready? Here he is. This is Jeromy Farkas by way of his Instagram. All right. And here he is.
Good evening, Calgary. It's Mayor Jeromy. And it's time to...
You got to switch that setting on your laptop, Ryan.
What is the setting? Oh,
remember the?
Oh yeah, you told me about the thing.
Don't tell people what settings we're using, but
we don't want to tell people what settings we're using.
What is it called? You always talk about
it. Yeah. Okay, got it here.
Proprietary knowledge.
Proprietary knowledge. We don't want anybody to know what's happening here.
You think you got it?
I do, but now I want to get it back to the beginning. Are we ready to rock?
Let's go.
All right, here's Jeromy Farkas.
Here we go.
Good evening, Calgary. It's Mayor Jeromy, and it's time to cut through the bullshit about the Cowboys tent. By now, you've seen the coordinated smear campaign from out-of-town politicians, and they think you're stupid and want you to believe that we're somehow canceling Stampede by asking the big tents to use the same rules in place at Coachella, Lollapalooza, and all of the other world-class festivals. And that's the first piece of bullshit. We're not talking about Stampede at all. We're talking about a few off-site tents that have been treating their neighbors like garbage. So here's the truth. In the last few years, the tents were given a special exemption way above and beyond what was in place until about 2019. People living near these tents were told to call 311 and wait. Meanwhile, their windows shook and broke, their shelves rattled, and music ran on weeknights until 2 or 3 a.m. So they dealt with property damage, public disorder, and excessive intoxication right outside their homes. Thousands of Calgarians raised their concerns. And just like when we repealed blanket rezoning, the city chose to listen to the people rather than answer to the money. The second piece of bullshit is that Calgary's rules suck compared to everywhere else. In fact, the changes are modest. There's no change on the weekends at all. But on weeknights, concerts now need to wrap up by about 12:30 a.m. Even with this change, it means that Calgary still allows outdoor music later than anywhere else in North America. The third piece of bullshit is that this was done somehow last minute. This wasn't a last minute change. The big tents knew in February that their exemption was under review, and Cowboys was told again in May. Their exemption depended on managing noise, safety, and impacts on nearby residents, and they did not meet that standard. But what isn't bullshit is that as your mayor, I'm fighting for you. I want you to know that a permit is not a license to bully a neighborhood. It is not a profit guarantee. And I was elected to stand up for Calgarians, not to take orders from wealthy donors, lobbyists, or out-of-town politicians protecting their friends. That said, I'm more than happy to see compromise and work with the operators who do respect Calgarians. But I answer to the nurse on an early shift, the parent getting kids ready for school, and the worker who needs sleep. So no, we are not canceling Stampede. We are protecting it. Stampede succeeds because Calgarians welcome millions of people into our city, and that goodwill matters. A few operators do not get to treat their neighbors like garbage and damage the reputation of an event that belongs to all of us. So if you want to do business in Calgary, respect the people who live next door.
Okay.
Right.
Good evening, Calgary. It's
So that cleared up some things for me. And I there are some things he said there. You know, it's only going to be on the weeknights.
Well, number one, let's get it to how he's saying it.
Yeah.
He's fired up.
Yeah.
Like when you hear a mayor saying the first piece of bullshit, the second piece of bullshit, right?
Sure.
Like I think that the passion behind the message is notable.
Little things are exaggerated, though. You know, the latest in North America by what, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes at the most? So like, you know, there's got to be stuff in Vegas, LA that is going to at least midnight. So that's
But if Calgary's even in the conversation.
Yeah. So that's great, too. But what I will say is that, you know, thousands of, how many millions of people live in Calgary, though? And
1.5.
And we just had Farkas on the show, and he was talking about the loud minority of separatists. So I don't know. If listening to these 1,000 people or 2,000 people or whatever, I get it. I'm not saying like their voice doesn't matter. These people in these residential areas. What I was simply saying is this was once a year for a week, and let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes when you close bars at, if you have to have it up by 12:30, that means the last call will be 11:30 because you have to have an hour of a consumption. and let those people out on the street. I don't think it's going to go well, but maybe it does. And I'm hoping it does.
The good news is I got to be careful in how I say this, but I can basically guarantee that Mayor Farkas will be with us at some point during our week at the Calgary
guarantee he's
Stampede.
going to bring up my comments just now.
Well, good. You can answer for your comments, but I will just say this, and so he can say it in his own words, and yada yada yada. He can. I don't want to get too into the weeds about whether it's 11:30 or 12 or 1. I mean, obviously the details matter, and obviously, like, policymakers need to focus on the details. And if you're trying to sleep and you got to get up for work in the morning, like, listen, I'm a party animal. I'm a night owl. So I'm more inclined to be cool with later, but I also recognize that not everybody is. And so I'll hit this kind of middle of the road. The biggest issue for me is that for Danielle Smith's entire career, she has insisted that government needs to be small, lean, efficient, and stay in its lane. And this is not the role of the premier to try to big dog the mayor of Calgary while the red flags are up, I guess maybe metaphorically, but literally as well, on all the lamp standards in the city. The city of Calgary is preparing to welcome the world to the greatest outdoor show on earth. And the Premier of Alberta is trying to make the mayor of Calgary look small. And she's trying to make the mayor of Calgary look like he and his council doesn't know what it's doing, that it's out of touch, and that it doesn't want anybody to have fun. And if I was the duly elected and recently elected mayor of Calgary, I would be fucking furious. And I think that he's doing a pretty decent job of coming across as reputable and steady. I would say anecdotally in our live chat. Some of you will say, well, the live chat's biased, and obviously it's more pro Jeromy Farkas than Danielle Smith. Rewind like a year to when Jeromy Farkas first came on this show after his basically mountaintop tour of all these hikes he was doing for fundraising, and a whole bunch of you were piling on him for being this right-wing conservative, a wolf in sheep's clothing. You remember that. I remember that. I got a long memory on what people say in our live chat. So Jeromy Farkas as the big lefty just makes me spit on my coffee. I think that's fucking hilarious. But I will say this. If I was mayor as well, I would never stand for a premier trying to make me look small in front of my own constituents and the world 2 weeks out from the greatest outdoor show on earth. And so I don't blame 100%. Farkas for pushing back on this. And that's what the real story is this is not Danielle Smith's jurisdiction. This is not her role as Premier of Alberta to start talking about Calgary's noise bylaw. If she wants the feds to stay in their lane, if she wants other provinces to stay in their lane, like, practice what you preach. And this to me is offensive, and I understand why. I mean, I'm getting a kick out of it. I think it's funny because I'm not involved, and because I know that the Cowboys beer tent, because I'm 49 years old and I spent 25 years of my life in Calgary, and I've been to Cowboys more times than I can count. They'll be just fine. And Paul Vickers will make lots of money, and the doorman will make lots of money, and the beer tub attendees will make a lot. I've updated my language. Bartenders are going to do just fine. Everybody's going to do just fine. No fun will be killed at the Calgary Stampede. But I think on this, Farkas is right to push back, and I guarantee in the court of public opinion, he's winning on this one.
And I was happy to hear those points where he corrected me on some of the thoughts I had, right? Yeah. And I'm not siding with the premier here. I just look, I was a guy, God damn it, I was vegan for 10 years. I was so against Stampede when I moved here, and now we're going down there because I understand what it means to this province. I understand what it means to the businesses around there. That was another. I didn't like how Farkas said, we didn't pander to the money. Well, what is Stampede? I mean, it's a proclamation of Albertan cowboy
Western culture.
But I mean, let's be honest. It's to bring revenue to the province and to the city of Calgary, is it
for
not?
Sure, 100%. But also, I wish I could remember who it was earlier in our chat. Somebody right at the beginning of the live stream. Shout out to you. You know who you are. Someone made a comment that was like, there's a lot of, I think it may have been Allie. Someone was like, there's a lot of talk about profit and business and Calgary Stampede, but she says there's a huge element of nonprofits and charitable
100%,
community
yeah.
group. It is true.
Yeah.
Like some of your best
Stampede
memories,
free.
They've got community center pancake breakfast.
Sure,
You've got these little exhibitions, these cool things. But yeah, I mean, it's a major revenue driver, obviously.
And what I was getting at is that people will say it's people, urinating on the streets and vomiting and fighting and having sex everywhere. I mean, we know that's not true. Is there some of that, as there is
some of it
with every festival, every large gathering that happens in every city? Sure. But the city and Stampede organizers, they got extensive security, cleanup crews. Like, they've got, rules against disorderly conduct. It's not just a free-for-all out there.
Yeah. Alberta girl says Smith is intoxicated with her power.
Ooh. Is that a beer reference?
I like it if it is. Jillian says, I still don't trust Farkas. Ambustion says, I turned around pretty quick on Farkas. He showed accountability, took a loss in the best way when he lost to Gondek in the mayoral race. Justin says the Premier's getting very bold and needs to STFU about stuff like this and picking fights with the treaty chiefs. That's another thing we haven't talked about that happened in the last week. More Bruce McAllister, I think, wasn't it? Senior staffer, you don't really call them staffers, but like a senior official in the Smith government calling out the treaty chiefs the other day. Wild move. Let us know what you think to talk at ryanjesperson.com. Jillian says, keep in mind, everybody, this is also an extra big year for Stampede with so many Canadians staying on home soil this summer, not traveling to the United States, which is definitely true as well. Yeah.
I can't wait to get down there. It's going to be incredible.
Dude, we're going to have so much fun.
If you didn't hear, if you're tuning in later and you skip to the end because you heard Jeromy Farkas tweet that Johnny Infamous is an idiot for his views on the Stampede, and you've come to the end, I'll give you the update. Real Talk is going on our first ever fully produced road trip. We're going to be live from the National Music Hall.
A National Music Center.
National
I can't
Music
wait for
Center,
this.
sorry, in Calgary all week. I will not be wearing a cowboy hat, but I will wear plaid every show, okay? Ryan will be in what? A Stetson? What do you got?
Look at this building, though. Like, check
It's
out
absolutely
StudioBell.ca. Yeah. It's like part museum, part exhibition. There's like 4 halls of fame, including the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, like the rock music. We're going to learn more about it, but it's all built around. I was talking to Andrew, their president and CEO, and he's going to join us on the show that week. So it's July 6th to 10th. We'll be down there in Calgary, my hometown. I can't wait. This feels like a bit of a homecoming for me as well. But he was telling me, so the King Eddie way back in the day, this was like Canada's blues bar, right? There's iconic artists that have played in the King Eddie, and the plan was to tear it down for like, it was like an underpass or something. It was like infrastructure, downtown infrastructure, just off 9th Avenue there. And a group of visionaries stepped up and said that we can save the King Eddie, like preserve it, restore it, and build the National Music Center around it. And so the whole facility, which is stunning, like the architectural design of it, if you've been to the Art Gallery of Alberta in Edmonton, the interior design and architecture of the National Music Center reminds me of that. It's this almost
Studio Bell.
It's glass and steel and reflective surfaces and this kind of whimsical. I mean, it's just beautiful.
It's incredible.
And it's all built around the King Eddie.
Yeah.
And you can roll into the King Eddie, have a pint, hear a blues show. So cool. Anyway, you're going to learn more about it.
But props to you because
it's going to be a great week.
When this came up, I was like, man, if we're going to do this, we have to do it big. You have to get an amazing venue.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, I'm working on it. And then you told me, I was like, as a technical producer, I was so worried about like moving studios.
Johnny, we're in a 7-Eleven.
I'm so at ease. We're in soundproof studios with equipment. Studio Bell National Music Center is going to be absolutely incredible for Real Talk.
It's going to be so great. And to answer your question about what I'm going to wear, I need you to get me, and we'll just say this in front of the audience because I need.
Should I get them now?
Yeah,
Ryan.
Because I'm going to wear my cowboy hats.
No, I have
a
present for you. I grabbed.
What? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, he's stepping away from mission control and presenting me. Wow, you really did get them for me? I love you. These are the in-ear. You guys see I wear these big cans. I wear these big headphones all the time, just, because I love the sound of my own voice.
Look at how stylish those are.
Look at these. These are like real. These are real in-ear. I'm so glad you got me. So, yeah, I'll be rocking the cowboy hat all week long.
I want you to get used to those, so maybe start using them tomorrow.
Because
I know the first show you'll be like, what? The levels.
It's going to be so good.
The levels.
We still have shows between now and then, though, friends, and of course we've still got lots to come, and that includes over the next couple of days following up on some of the stories that we've been talking about. Obviously, there's lots that happened in the 5 episodes or so that we were away. I want to shout out Rob Breckenridge for covering me. I want to shout out Supriya Dwivedi as well. Before we get to positive reflections, which is one of the most, I'm so geared up for this positive reflections. We should note that news has broken while we've been talking during this live stream. And it is official. The Edmonton Oilers are taking a big swing, in my mind, taking a pretty big risk. Johnny, how do you feel about the hiring of Mike Babcock?
as a guy who works closely with Oilers Entertainment Group and the Edmonton Oilers, I was their DJ for 7 seasons. I'm going to say nothing. But I will say this. Woodcroft, Knob Block.
Oh, don't do this.
Babcock, the phallus, the penis. Get a coach without a penis reference in his name, please, Oilers. But hey, look, he didn't work for the Leafs. He's got one Stanley Cup on a Detroit team that was incredible. He's, Team Canada also stacked. Look, I'm hoping for the best. I want Connor McDavid to win a cup next year or the year after. But, I'm in that camp that is like, I don't think he's the guy. But listen, I don't think this team really... This team doesn't really need... Like, I feel like they had that window, those 2 Florida series, where, like, there was just, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was fate. It was like one goal that one year that we needed to save and score one more. And then last year, 1 or 2 games or the year before last, 1 or 2 games we needed to win. I don't know if the coach, I know a coach is important, but I believe in the team. I believe in Connor. I believe in Dry. I believe in, all these other players. So I think as long as the team is good, I think we can get there. But, what's your opinion? Do you think Mike Babcock is the unlocking secret to the Oilers' Stanley Cup woes?
I don't know. I guess I just feel like, here's what I think. I think if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl went to Stan Bowman and said, we want Mike Babcock, then I guess you go get Mike Babcock. Why can't I even say the fucking name? Babcock. But I would just say that he is reputedly, and there are multiple reports over the course of his career, that he's toxic and he's a bully. And listen though, there's coaches that, we were joking about John Tortorella a few weeks ago and saying that some players hate playing for John Tortorella. And then you talk to other people and they just would run through drywall for that guy and they love him. So I don't know. I guess to me, sometimes you take a swing on a player or you add someone to your organization that is mired in controversy that could be a cancer in the room, and it pays off. Like, I think Corey Perry in Edmonton was pretty good. Evander Kane in Edmonton, mixed reviews. Carter Hart in Las Vegas, Stanley Cup final, but then had the worst finals performance of any goalie in NHL history. Like, I don't know. I guess bringing in Mike Babcock is like, the guy's won 1 cup. It was 17 years ago. At one point, he was regarded, he was the highest earning coach in the NHL. He set a new standard for coaching salaries. The sort of a graduate of the Red Deer College program. I'm surprised and not surprised they did it. It feels like a bit of an Oilers move in the sense that the team has not. It's the city of second chances, right? It's the city of second chances. And I'm not saying that as an insult to the organization.
Cassian,
the Oilers.
Kane.
Cassian's another great example, Johnny. And Cassian was a fantastic Oiler.
We hated Cassian.
Before.
Because of the
jaw. Fuck yeah. I was the first one to get a Cassian jersey when he came here.
Cassian with the jaw thing with...
you're right. Yeah, you're 100% right with Sam Gagner. So... I don't know. If it works out, they're going to look like geniuses, and if Babcock like splits the room, and it's probably worse news for the bottom 6 forwards than the top 6. If you're making $1 million on that team next year, you're probably not going to love how you're getting treated by Mike Babcock. So
hand your phone in on the. No,
you're right.
Here's the thing. I'll just say this because I know we got to get to positive. Is like I'm going to be careful here, but I don't really think Mike Babcock is the best human being. Like, he seems to be a bit of an asshole, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also the guy who says this on every show, so I'm going to take my own advice that, hey, there's a second chance out there for everyone. I believe that for addicts. I believe that for criminals. I believe it for horrible dads. Like, every day is a chance to make up for your mistakes, be a better person, and spend the rest of your life trying to give to those people that you hurt, neglected, or have wronged. And this guy has wronged some people. Let's not make 2 ways about it. So if he shows up day 1 and he's the guy who's doing the exact opposite of what he used to do, but still, sticking to being a good coach, maybe that's what happens. It doesn't happen for a lot of people. A lot of people don't do a 180, right?
Yeah.
So, the first time he makes a mistake, the media is going to be all over him. So I don't think this is a guy who's walking in the first day and is like, I'm going to stick to the same thing I've always done. But that's what got him in trouble before. He refused to change.
Yeah, but it also might be kind of like part of the secret sauce. Like, have you ever seen, like...
I'm not talking about coaching. I'm talking in the dressing room, right?
Yeah, so, but I just mean, like, maybe his bullying and intimidation and just being a prick was kind of like part of the reason why he was able to lead the Red Wings to a cup.
Sure. And there have been some rumors.
I'm not justifying it. I'm just
No.
saying, like, it's like cutting Samson's hair. Like, maybe your hands are tied now. I don't know.
But you got to evolve. In this day and age, you got to evolve. Things change. The world's changed. People think differently now. But I did hear some rumors, and I don't know if it's like, I'm not going to say verbatim or whether it's true, but I did hear some rumors from the Oilers people and some tweets and stuff that there was a pretty big fiery meeting between like some. Obviously, we're going to say Connor was there and some other prominent players, and they straight up said to Babcock, like, hey, here's things like we don't like. And I hear that Babcock said back to them, well, here's things I didn't like that cost you a Stanley Cup. And then there was some laughter and whatever. So, yeah, I agree with you. Like, this isn't going to happen unless Connor, Draisaitl stamped their approval.
Yeah.
So we have no choice.
But maybe they did.
You know what I mean? So they likely did, right?
Yeah, and I would say
and
at
this is what
point,
they want, and
like
this is what they feel is going to help.
Connor McDavid, as my pal Bob Stauffer refers to him, as the most evolved player in hockey history. If you have the most evolved player in hockey history, and he tells you if he tells you who he wants on his line, tells you who he doesn't appreciate in the room, who he wants coaching him, I think you listen. I mean, he is at that level of stature.
So we'll see what happens. But one thing I think is going to be crazy is when Darnell Nurse gets traded, goes to another team and has a banger year.
Oh my God! You mentioned Nurse wins a Stanley Cup.
I don't care what anyone says. He's a little overpaid, but he's a great defenseman, and any team would love to get that guy.
I love Darnell Nurse. He makes too much money. In the sense that it's not his fault.
If he was $9 million or $8 million,
they offered
nobody
him
would
the
say
contract, $9.25. They offered him the deal. Of course, he'd be an idiot not to take it. It's not his fault.
If he was $5, everyone would be great.
I can say behind the scenes as well, like in real life, an absolute beauty, that guy. And it's going to be too bad that he has to leave Edmonton. Darth Espresso says, down in Calgary, I want to see Jespo and Johnny flipping some pancakes. We'll see. And Bustion wonders, are we having a Real Talk YYC get-together, a Real Talk Calgary get-together? I would just say right now, absolutely. And I would say we have it at the King Eddie. What do you think, Johnny? That makes perfect sense.
Ryan will be there.
Date TBD. Date and details TBD, but absolutely 100%.
No,
We'll set up like a Real Talk happy hour. I love that idea. Cauldron, I wanted to note this, a little bit of housekeeping. Cauldron jumps in on our live chat and says, I want to support the show as much as possible. What's the best platform to show my support? Thank you so much. You can go to ryanjesperson.com, click on Connect. That's where you can sign up to become a Real Talk Patreon supporter, or you can be a YouTube channel subscriber as well. Both of those come with a channel member. Thanks, Johnny. Those come with unique perks. By the way, thanks to Real Talker Dustin, I think off the top of my head. Yeah, it was Dustin who won 4 courtside seats to go see the Edmonton Stingers earlier this month, which is absolutely fantastic, courtesy of our friends at Play Alberta. And we'll do some cool stuff all through the year. So thank you, Cauldron, for asking. Emily G, thank you for passing along condolences to the Martin family, dear friends of ours. And obviously she says, man, pancreatic cancer is just the absolute worst, and it sure is. Man, this is just community. It's what it's all about. We're super excited about Stampede Week, but we got a lot of ground to cover between now and then.
Yeehaw.
But here's an example. Here's a big thing we had to take care of when it comes to the business of community involvement and the business of charity. And I'm going to tell you the story here in the form of a positive reflection that is proudly presented by our friends at Kuby Energy. You know what else is presented by Kuby Energy? The Real Talk Golf Classic. And that's exactly what we rolled out. Is this noob footage that you're showing us right now?
Shout out to Noob!
Oh, look at this noob. Try again. This is his drone footage. This is on the Real Talk tee box. This was Thursday, June 18th at the Ranch Golf and Country Club. Look at that drive. Who is that? Nice shot. That's hole number 4 at the ranch. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube or on our live stream presented by California Closets, look at the condition of the ranch right now, you guys. There's a bunch of private courses. I take no pleasure in saying this. There's a lot of private courses in Alberta right now that are very banged up by the winter conditions. There's a lot of ice-burned fairways. Greens are really looking tough. The ranch looks unreal for mid-June, and we had an amazing time at the Real Talk Golf Classic. You're seeing photos snapped, captured, moments in time by our good buddy Carly Watson. It was amazing to have her out there as well as we gathered in support of the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship. There you can see Kuby Energy founding CEO Jake Kubisky there talking about why they're so proud to be the presenting sponsors of this. And the list of sponsors is a long one. We can't go through all of it, but I would just say a huge thank you to everybody that showed up to volunteer, that showed up to sponsor, that showed up to play golf. That's me on, this is right before we kick things off, Johnny, with Team Kuby right there on the Real Talk tee box. Shout out to Burlington and Sons, helped us make sure that we had 144 branded cigars there to hand out to everybody. Hey. Everybody loved the Johnny Infamous photo booth.
There's my shirt I wear once a year. Brand new. And look, guys, we're in our dark villain era with the Mercedes-Benz black logo. I love
the white on black.
This is my favorite golf shirt of the last 4 years.
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, shout out Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West for being there and everybody else. Our organizers, Emily Boomer, Christine Villanueva, did an unbelievable job. There we are in the 10th tee box. Fantastic stuff as well. Man, we had so many sponsors. The tee box activations, if I start naming them, I'll feel bad for forgetting others, but Space Race Cannabis in the house, if you know what I mean. I had our friends at Pura Botanicals out there educating the men on the different scents, and the ladies knew exactly what they were doing with the team at Pura there. We had so much fun. We've mentioned all the food. Our friends at the Druid from downstairs here at Mercer Warehouse showing up. They brought the food to one of the tee boxes, and then they helped host our official Real Talk Golf Classic after party, which was a great time. There's Cam Johnson from California Closets, one of our hole-in-one sponsors. Cam is just such a huge supporter of everything we do, including the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship, and we've got so much love for him and the team at the California Closets across Alberta and beyond. Look at these noob drone shots. These are absolutely fantastic. Shout out to DeBurr's Golf as well for not only providing our tent on the tee box. Good thing we had a little bit of rain for a half an hour or so. Kind of cooled us down, but for the most part, just an absolutely beautiful day. And Johnny, I just wanted to share, and we've just had the number confirmed because we have the different revenue sources through the tournament. You don't need to worry about getting the weeds on that. But Johnny, I'm so happy to let you know that when it was all said and done, golfers, sponsors, volunteers helped us raise $88,000 for the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship. Unbelievable stuff. I get chills just saying it. If you're not familiar with the scholarship, you can check out ryanjesperson.com/scholarship. If you know a post-secondary student in Canada that has tragically lost a parent to cancer, please let them know about this scholarship. It's a 4-year commitment when you qualify at $5,000 per. It's a $20,000 scholarship. This year, 2025-26, we're proud to be supporting 8 post-secondary students across Canada. And next year, we hope to expand that, and we can do it because of your generosity. The Bond family, bidding $18,500 on an Oilers suite. We had an anonymous donor match a cash appeal donation that raised more than $25,000. I mean, unbelievable sponsors. Our friends at Apex Automation were there. It was so great to have them in the house. They bring so much wonderful energy. And so many more. Abaco Drilling. Thank you for stepping up, Abaco. I want to give them a shout out. They sponsored all the beers on the tables, plus they made a cash contribution to the scholarship. And then during the cash appeal, they raised their hands again. These are just examples off the top of my head, guys. I'm not reading a script right now, just of the generosity that was on display there at the Real Talk Golf Classic. My heart is full. My face still hurts from smiling. Thanks to our friends at Molson. Thanks to our friends at Play Alberta. Thanks to all of our friends, the independent operators that stepped up to make the tee box experiences memorable. How about getting your beard or the back of your neck cleaned up from our friends at Parlor Barba, right? Parlor Barba's there with barber chairs on a tee box. How cool is that? And the list goes on and on and on. We've named some of our sponsors through this episode. We're naming some of them now. But all I got to say is that near the end of the evening, when the very first recipient of the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship 5 years ago, Hani Bombay-Walla, joined us and took to the podium and shared her story of graduating with a degree in nursing with the support of the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship. She's now entering the healthcare field in honor of her father, who she lost. It was her family's experience in healthcare that motivated Hani to become a nurse. And because of this scholarship, she was able to take off some of the stress that comes along with making the finances work for post-secondary education in Canada right now. You could have heard a pin drop in that room, Johnny. 150 plus people just on the edge of their seats listening to Hani. We're so proud of her. We're so proud of every student right now that is building Julie's legacy with the careers that they're forging and the incredible courage that they are displaying. Real Talkers, we love you guys. The Real Talk Pond Hockey Classic will be our next signature event. We'll have an announcement on that to come, and you can mark your calendars right now, Johnny. I'll let everybody know that Thursday, June 17th of 2027 will be the 6th annual Real Talk Golf Classic. It will be presented by our friends at Kuby Energy. You can get a free solar quote today by checking out kuby.ca. I hope that this news fills your bucket. We'll talk to you again in 22 hours. One love.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton.